Chapter 1184. Li Fan fell into darkness, and he could not see anything around him. He instantly bounced back into his own world of consciousness. At this moment, in his world of consciousness, only the flying lion goddess was still standing there quietly. The quiet heart lake around him was like a painting. The starry sky above his head was slowly rotating. Among them, 8 stars were the brightest, and one was still very dim. It was unknown when it would release its light. And in the next second, the originally quiet sea of consciousness suddenly surged violently. And standing in it, the flying lion goddess suddenly opened her eyes, and in the next second, she disappeared from his world of consciousness. Li Fan seemed to understand that he must have inhaled poison just now and his 5 senses were sealed. The current him could not hear, see, or even feel the touch of his skin. He could only quietly stay in this world of consciousness, waiting for his immune system to clean up the poison. During this period, he could only rely on his flying lion goddess. At the same time, in the real world, Di Wuliang was even more depressed. He had finally seized this opportunity to subdue Li Fan. The poisonous mist was indeed effective. Li Fan stood there, motionless like a statue. But before Di Wuliang could do anything, a goddess of war wearing golden armor descended in front of everyone with a beam of golden light. She waved the holy sword in her hand and directly cut a royal guard in front of her in half. Blood and intestines flew everywhere. Di Wuliang, who was used to seeing big scenes, actually felt a little disgusted at this moment. Go! She is only a guardian. She does not have any intelligence. Di Wuliang could not give up just like that. Surround her. Kill her. A few royal guards stepped forward, but they were killed by the flying lion goddess's sword. The flying lion goddess's armor was stained with red blood, and she seemed to be even more ferocious. For a moment, no one could get within a meter of her. Upper hook. Di Wuliang maintained his calm and gave the second order. The grappling claw troops at the side immediately stepped forward and threw out more than 10 grappling claws, hooking onto her body. These claw troops pulled on the chains and locked the flying lion goddess in place, making her unable to move. As they approached Li Fan, the flying lion goddess shook her right hand, and the holy sword transformed into a golden rifle. She then fired at the royal guards that were approaching Li Fan. The bullets were completely made up of yuan qi. With each shot, the heads of all the royal guards near Li Fan exploded. Di Wuliang's brows were about to turn into crescents. Motherfucker, this is too much. They were all tied up, but they could still launch long-range attacks. Li Fan was indeed worthy of being the little overlord who mingled in Jianghu in the past. He was indeed very difficult to deal with. Lock her hands. Di Wuliang ordered again. Although he was carrying the divine spear of Huaxia, he did not dare to approach the flying lion goddess. He continued to order. In the increasingly cold rain, 2 more royal guards threw out their claws and hooked onto the right hand of the flying lion goddess, restraining her attack and preventing her from firing. The winged lion goddess alone almost held back the rest of the royal guards. But no matter what, the terrifying goddess of war was finally restrained. Di Wuliang heaved a sigh of relief. He carried the silver spear and walked towards Li Fan step by step. A meteoric rise was within reach. Di Wuliang's eyes became brighter and brighter. The spear in his hand also became tighter and tighter. But at this time, a man destroyed his beautiful dream. The devil sex Lu Zhu appeared out of nowhere. He took out a blowpipe and blew at Li Fan, who was beside him. From the blowpipe, white smoke was blown out and sucked into Li Fan's nose. Everyone, retreat! The moment Lu Zhu appeared, Di Wuliang's heart tightened. He understood that the situation was hopeless. His intelligence went online and he immediately gave the order to retreat, saving himself. Di Wuliang picked up all the Huaxia divine weapons, turned around and ran. In the blink of an eye, he rushed into the nearby forest. The few imperial guards did not manage to escape in time and were killed by Li Fan after he opened his eyes. Their heads were smashed one by one with a kick. The rain washed the ground, washing the blood into the nearby ditch. There were only a few cars parked on the side of the road. There was not a single royal guard alive. You're really quick-witted. Li Fan rejoiced as he looked at Lu Zhu next to him. If not for you, I'm afraid I would be miserable. That's why I said you need me. Lu Zhu was a little proud. Later, I will stay in your dojo for a while. You teach me martial arts, I will train your IQ. Li Fan glared at Lu Zhu. This kid actually dared to tease him. What I said is true. You think about it. I don't have any problem with you staying. Li Fan walked into the car where Imperial concubine Zhou was imprisoned and said, but you can't have any problem with my IQ. Lu Zhu, who was standing behind, covered her mouth and chuckled. In the military car, there was a sealed metal can. Li Fan stood in front of the capsule-shaped can, looking at the large number of CNC panels on it, lost in thought. Lu Zhu walked to his side, stretched out her hand, and pressed a few buttons on the CNC panel. The CNC panel was retracted, the metal can popped out a white mist and slowly opened. What did you just say? What happened to your IQ? Lu Zhu looked at Li Fan with a smile. Pumph. Li Fan coldly snorted, waved his hand, dispersing the white mist in front of him. Imperial concubine Zhou stood there, her hands and feet were locked with iron chains. Her eyes were open, but her eyes were empty, as if her soul had left the world. This is Song Fuya's neurotoxin. Lu Zhu was also a member of the devil cult, so she understood, this poison is very terrible. It can block people's 5 senses. Fortunately, it can only be ingested through the respiratory tract. As long as you hold your breath, you can block it. With that, Lu Zhu took out her blowpipe and blew it at Imperial concubine Zhou. Imperial concubine Zhou's body slightly trembled. In the next few seconds, her eyes slowly recovered. At the same time, she directly raised her palm and slapped Lu Zhu in front of her. Li Fan also sent out his palm, slapping Imperial concubine Zhou's palm. A powerful suction force pulled Li Fan's elemental chi toward Imperial concubine Zhou's body. But Li Fan also pulled his elemental chi, not letting Imperial concubine Zhou succeed. Imperial concubine Zhou was in a trance for a moment. Then she understood. It's you? She retracted her palm and heaved a sigh of relief. Why did you come so late? Don't make trouble, I'm still in a daze, okay? Li Fan complained. You, this person? You were silently taken away. If it weren't for Lu Zhu, I'm afraid you would have died of old age. This consort won't die so easily. Imperial concubine Zhou coldly snorted. Heaven's will is on this consort's side, otherwise, you wouldn't appear here. In short, it's good that you're fine. Li Fan finally revealed a smile. Let's go home. Chapter 1185. The Royal Guards and Li Fan's 7 Heroes sect could be considered to have officially started. However, these matters could only be fought in the dark. When it came to the light, both sides still had to get along. After all, they had the government backing them, so there was no way to completely fall out. Sima residence. Sima Hui slapped Di Wuliang to the ground. Damn it, a bunch of trash. Sima Hui cursed. What's the use of raising you? You can't even catch one person. Di Wuliang knelt on the ground, covering his face, not daring to say a word. He was a smart person, and he knew that Sima Hui wanted to vent his anger, not listen to his explanation. The person was already lost, and there was no use in explaining. It would only add fuel to the fire. As long as the 7 Heroes sect exists, my position will not be stable. Sima Hui sat back down on his chair. He was still panting, and it was obvious that his anger had not subsided. There's also that girl Murong Ying, obstructing me at every turn. She really doesn't know when to stop. Sir, why don't we make use of this? Di Wuliang finally found an opportunity to speak. Sima Hui's eyes flashed with an ominous glint. He lowered his head, looking at his subordinate who was kneeling in front of him. Di Wuliang had just been promoted to a vehicle-level cadre, and the badge on his chest was wiped clean. However, this small cadre, how could he be so confident in front of him? Do you have the right to speak here? Sima Hui sneered. I think you're tired of living. The 2 guards at the side directly pulled out their swords. Di Wuliang broke out in cold sweat, but he was gambling. This was his only chance. However, I'm interested to hear what kind of good ideas you have. If you can't, then don't keep your tongue. Accompanying a ruler is like accompanying a tiger. The ancients did not deceive me, Di Wuliang sighed. Sima Hui was too dangerous, but wealth came from danger. As far as I know, that Li Fan has a little girl called Murong Ai in his hands. As everyone knows, Murong loves women. I don't believe that he doesn't want to find his daughter. That old man is a daughter lover. Sima Hui curled his lips. A good and ambitious man, but because of his daughter, he ran away from home and became dispirited. To think that I treated him as a character in the past. He's nothing more than this. No matter what, his martial arts and background are still a force. Di Wuliang had already grasped the opportunity. Without any hesitation, he immediately suggested, as long as we create an opportunity to let Murong Bo know that his daughter isn't living a good life. At that time, he will fight with Li Fan to the death. When Sima Hui heard this, his eyes, which had always been hiding a sharp edge, could not help but light up. What this kid said seemed to make sense. What do you plan to do? Sir, please allow me to speak. Sima Hui was silent for a moment, then waved his hand. Come here. Like this, Di Wuliang stepped forward and whispered. Sima Hui nodded repeatedly. All right, we'll do as you say. This time, don't make any mistakes. Otherwise, I'll see you with my head. The Imperial Guards were weaving a big net for the 7 chivalry sect, waiting to capture them. At this time, Li Fan had also returned to the dojo and continued to be the dojo master. When he had nothing to do, he would practice martial arts, teach apprentices, and occasionally enjoy the feeling of being the king and 2 queens. However, after the kidnapping of Imperial concubine Zhou, Li Fan had also become more cautious. He had installed an emergency wristband on everyone in the dojo. As long as they encountered danger, they would immediately send a message to Li Fan. This way, Li Fan would be able to help them at the first instance. No matter what, the priority was to protect everyone's safety. This way, Li Fan could do his own things without any scruples. However, he did not stay idle for a few days. Soon, General Ran's people came to find him. Hello, Major Li. A soldier stood in front of Li Fan and saluted him. This is the content of your mission. Please take a look. He handed over a document to Li Fan. At this time, Li Fan had just woken up, and his hair was still slightly messy. Jiang Yi was standing behind Li Fan, tidying up Li Fan's hair. Li Fan glanced at the soldier in front of him and then opened the document in his hand. It was written in handwriting, and it was written by General Ran. This guy, why did he assign me a mission out of nowhere? Li Fan glanced at it. The higher-ups had assigned Li Fan to go to Song Town. It was said that there was a monster there, and the entire town was missing. Monster? Li Fan frowned slightly. In broad daylight, where did the monster come from? There are all kinds of strange things in the world. Dragoness stretched herself and walked out of the room. This girl only wore a little bare pajamas. That lowly short body was very lethal to people of the uncle level. The little girl had her hair tied up in 2 buns, looking exquisite and cute. Her chubby little face still had a lazy, sleepy look on it. Not rubbing today? Game maintenance. Dragon Girl tiptoed, stretched her neck, and glanced at the document in Li Fan's hand. Occasionally carrying out a mission from the higher-ups is also the responsibility of the Shangfang sword. Dragon Girl reminded Li Fan. Didn't they say that the Shangfang sword is only under the leadership of the top? Whether to do it or not, the choice is up to you. Dragon Girl reminded Li Fan, whether to be a guardian of China or a free man who does whatever he wants, it is up to you. Alright, then I will make a trip. Li Fan thought for a moment and ordered the soldier, when I leave, let General Ran send 12 heavenly generals to protect my dojo. Hey, the 12 heavenly generals are the guardians of China, not your personal bodyguards. Dragon Girl scolded Li Fan. They are the bodyguards of China's guardian. Li Fan said with a smile, as for why I let them come, I don't need to explain. I help the country, so the country should also protect the safety of my family. Alright, what you said makes sense. Dragon Girl nodded, seemingly convinced by Li Fan. Tell the general to let Pig Girl come. Pig Girl, Li Fan said, They are both lawless. Is it really okay to call her that? She is one of the top experts among the 12 heavenly generals. With her here, you can rest assured. That's good. As long as I don't have any worries, it will be fine. Then let's set off immediately. Why are you in such a hurry? Didn't you see the document just now? It says it's urgent. Then why weren't you in a hurry just now? A man must be steady. Dragon Girl was rendered speechless by Li Fan's words. After Li Fan gave some instructions in the dojo, he took Dragon Girl and set off. Having the government as a backer is indeed different. Li Fan directly took a military helicopter and arrived at Songshan town in less than a day. Chapter 1186. Songshan town was located in the southeast of the motherland. It was not very big. The people here were fierce and unruly. In the past, people said that Songshan town had beautiful scenery and was a good place to travel. For a period of time, many tourists came to Songshan town to sightsee. They were happy and carefree. However, these days did not last long. Soon, the townspeople of Songshan town discovered that these foreign tourists were all overflowing with wealth. Therefore, other than tourism, the townspeople also developed a new sideline: robbery. 6 out of 10 tourists who came to Songshan town would be robbed. As time passed, no one dared to come to Songshan town anymore. It was originally a famous tourist city, but it suddenly became empty. The economic conditions also plummeted. As a result, because of the poverty, the people of Songshan town robbed foreigners even more happily. Before the national crackdown, they were the most violent. They even set up roadblocks on the highways and collected tolls from passing drivers. If they did not pay, they would smash cars and beat people. There were even a few deaths. Later, the entire country cracked down on evil forces. Songshan town was directly named by the central government. They even set up a special Songshan town crime fighting office to punish the crimes of Songshan town. It took 3 whole years of fighting to clear out such barren lands and unruly rivers. However, Songshan town also suffered a disastrous decline and became dilapidated. Many local young people walked out of the town to seek survival outside. On the other hand, the ancestors that remained in the town were lazy and lived day by day. When Li Fan arrived, Songshan town was lush with greenery. The cold of early spring could not be seen at all. Green grass covered the mountains and surrounded an ancient city at the foot of the mountain. The ancient city was quiet. There was no sign of life, as if it was still asleep. Li Fan and Dragon Lady stood above the valley and looked down at Songshan town, which had become one with nature. Then they looked at each other. It's like a ghost town. There should be some people in Songshan town. Dragon Lady had a unique ability. She could sense the aura of people in the city at the foot of the mountain. About 100 or so people. You can even sense that? Of course. Don't look down on us, Dragon Lady. Dragon Lady stood under the sun, stepped on the green grass, and stretched. The sunlight sprinkled on her white and tender skin, reflecting a touch of red on her snow-white skin. It was really attractive. Such a pure little beauty was indeed rare. The air here seems pretty good. As soon as the Dragon Lady finished speaking, she suddenly frowned. No, there's something strange here. She sniffed. It smells so bad. Maybe there really are monsters. What do monsters look like? Li Fan felt a little strange. He had never seen a monster before. The human heart is divided into good and evil. Good gives birth to immortals, evil gives birth to demons. Dragon Girl said tirelessly, there were too many evils. Over time, fiends appeared. Monsters feed on humans, and it might be the reason why more and more people are going missing here. I heard that a squad of soldiers who were sent there before went missing. They haven't appeared yet. Li Fan rubbed his chin and looked down. Is this demonic creature that powerful? It's up to you humans to decide whether demons are powerful or not. Dragon Lady winked at Li Fan. Come on, let's quickly settle the matter here so that we can go back and eat something delicious. You only know how to eat. Let's go down. Li Fan and Dragon Lady walked on the path, using Qinggong, all the way to the foot of the mountain. As an ancient town with a long history, Song Town was indeed very beautiful. It was said that in the past, there was a fugitive emperor who lived in this ancient city for a period of time. The reason why this ancient city was repaired so well was also related to this emperor. Entering the ancient city, a ray of sunlight penetrated through the dense leaves and landed on Li Fan's body. It was somewhat warm. This place is not bad. Li Fan looked at the streets and alleys of the ancient city and felt somewhat happy. In this ancient city, it was as if he was completely relaxed. Here, he could not see the hustle and bustle of the city and the heavy feeling of the reinforced concrete. This place is quite good. In the future, we can find a place like this to retreat into the mountains. Dragon Lady said, if you follow me to practice martial arts, your lifespan will be longer than ordinary people. When you reach a certain age, it would be more comfortable to live here. How long can I live? Li Fan was a little curious. It's not a problem to live to more than 150 years old. Dragon Lady complained, in the past, the Shangfang sword could at least live for more than 200 years. However, the pollution in the city is too serious now, so the lifespan will be shortened. It's quite long. What a pity, it would be good if humans could live forever. If humans could live forever, would there still be a place for other living beings? Dragon Lady asked without any trace of politeness. Don't think that our dragon race is very powerful. Weren't we almost exterminated by you humans? If the human lifespan was unlimited, I'm afraid that humans would be the only living beings left in this world. That seems to make sense. Well, I still hope to live longer. As Li Fan spoke, he walked into the ancient town. The ground under his feet was paved with blue stone bricks. It seemed that it had just rained. The ground was slightly damp and slippery. The ancient city was deathly silent. There was only the chirping of birds, as if they were the only ones playing in the city. Every household in the ancient city had their doors tightly shut. Li Fan and Dragon Lady could only wander around the streets. The ancient city was not very big. If they were to walk on foot, they would be able to walk around it in 3 to 4 hours. Around the ancient city, there were broken city walls. It was unknown how many years it had not been repaired. Li Fan looked left and right. There were a few rats running around on the city walls. It was as if they treated the city as their territory and were completely unafraid of outsiders. It seems like there really isn't anyone here. Li Fan asked, didn't you say that you sensed some people? Where are they? How would I know? Dragon Lady curled her lips. I'm not a radar. Didn't you sense it? I can only sense a general direction. I don't know the exact location. Dragon Lady pointed to the south. They should be in that direction. And let's go take a look. Just as Li Fan took a few steps, he was blocked by a row of wooden fences. The direction to the south city seemed to have been sealed, not allowing outsiders to pass. Is it okay if I kick you? Hurry up. Dragon Lady was especially impatient. Li Fan laughed. Just as he was about to lift his foot, a figure walked out from the wooden fences and berated him. You are not allowed to pass here. Li Fan was a little surprised. There was someone here? He raised his head and saw a woman with delicate features standing there. She wore a black cloak and held a candle in her hand. She looked at him with an unfriendly gaze. Chapter 1187. Get out. The woman frowned. A trace of anger could be seen in between her beautiful brows. This is not a place you should be. Woman, let us in. Dragoness immediately ordered the woman above her. Dream on. Get lost, you are not welcome here. The woman scolded again. Go back to your place. Looks like I can only break the door. Li Fan placed one hand on the wooden fence door. As long as he used his elemental chi, the door would be smashed into pieces. But the woman above picked up a stone and threw it at Li Fan. Li Fan extended his hand and slapped the stone away. The woman did not give up. She did not know how many stones she had hoarded, but she kept throwing them at Li Fan. Dragoness was unmoved. After all, Li Fan was here. Li Fan's hand could not withstand it. He used his crane hand and kept slapping the falling stones away. With Li Fan's strength, these stones could not hurt him at all. The woman seemed to be anxious. She did not know how to chase Li Fan away. At this moment, a man's scolding came from behind the fence door. "Luo Luo, what are you doing?" The woman's body trembled as she looked down in fear. Her body was trembling slightly, as though she was afraid, and her hand that was holding the stone loosened. For some reason, Li Fan actually felt pity for this woman who had evil intentions. "Open the door." The wooden fence door slowly opened, and a few men in black robes stood behind it. The leader looked to be in his 40s, with a crew cut and thick earlobes. He looked like a Maitreya Buddha as he smiled kindly at Li Fan. "My two friends, welcome to Song Town. I am the mayor here. My name is Hu Ji." "Mayor Hu." Li Fan briefly explained his purpose of coming, but he did not mention that he was an imperial sword, only that he was a secret agent. "Aya, so it is a secret agent, comrade. You're finally here." Mayor Hu seemed to be a little excited. He stepped forward and grabbed Li Fan's hand, looking at him as if he was looking at a family member. "You don't know, but our town has suffered a disaster." "Mayor Hu, don't worry. Speak slowly." He looked at the mayor, who seemed to be very emotional. When he spoke, his throat and his body were trembling. Li Fan didn't know what could make a strong man in his 40s so afraid. "Special Agent Comrade, we've been haunted by monsters recently." Mayor Hu greeted everyone and led Li Fan and the others into the gate. At the same time, he kept telling them about his experiences. "I'm not afraid of you laughing at me, but I used to be the mayor of Liwei City's Gong community. I've been working hard for the district for more than 10 years, and I've never dealt with my personal problems. Later, the organization sent me to Songshan Town and made me the mayor of this place. Speaking of Songshan Town, I was a bit afraid. The people of Song Town were known for their swift and fierce customs. I'm a little scared to be the mayor here." Mayor Hu led Li Fan to the place where they lived. Along the way, he started to talk. "But since it was the organization's arrangement, I couldn't refuse, so I came. When I came here, I found that it was not as powerful as the rumors said. Maybe it's because we've been isolated for too long that the people here have become simple and honest." Mayor Hu pointed at the townspeople around him and continued to tell his story. "When I came here, it was difficult to adapt to the backward life here at first. But as time went by, I fell in love with this place. The organization also introduced someone to me. It was Luo Luo, whom you saw just now. Although she has a bad temper, she is not a bad person." Li Fan looked back. The woman who had driven them away before was silently following the group. She covered her head with a cloak and did not say a word. She just walked slowly. Noticing Li Fan's gaze, she raised her head and glanced at Li Fan. She gritted her teeth and seemed to hate Li Fan and the others. "I think she's pretty. Didn't you agree?" Li Fan could not help but ask. "This Luo Luo." Mayor Hu sighed and lowered his voice. "The organization didn't figure it out. She was married, huh? So you dislike her?" "Not really. She didn't divorce, but her husband was paralyzed in bed all year round. I heard that he was no different from a vegetable. Everyone in the town thought that she was a widow. Every night, there were men who wanted to sneak into her house, but she forced them away with scissors. Although Luo Luo is a weak woman, she has a strong character. I can see that. Well, that's not true. This Luo Luo is still young. I'm already in my 40s. I'm more like her father. How can I care about those things? I've been in this town for a long time. Other than some men occasionally getting drunk and arguing, nothing major happened. Until one day." When Mayor Hu said this, he suddenly stopped. "Yo, we've arrived at the town hall. Let's go in and take a rest." In front of them was an old building. It was a crooked 2-story building. No one knew how many years it had been in a dilapidated state. It was converted into the town hall. The sign of the town hall was placed against the wall. It was covered with dust. "Two comrades, please have a seat. The conditions here are a bit crude. It can't be compared to a big city. Please forgive me." Mayor Hu led the two into the town hall. It was damp and moldy inside. No one knew how this mayor Hu managed to survive. He let Li Fan and the others sit on the sofa. Li Fan felt a damp feeling and quickly stood up. Dragon Girl also stood up. She seemed to be very uncomfortable. Since entering the door, Dragon Girl had been frowning. She probably really did not like the environment here. She was regarded as a guest of honor in China. When had she ever received such treatment? Luo Luo, go and prepare tea for the two guests. Mayor Hu ordered Luo Luo to go and fetch tea. Then he said to Li Fan with a smile, "Our wild tea is not bad. It has a special taste. Try it. By the way, why are you all wearing black robes?" Li Fan couldn't help but interrupt and ask. "It's a kind of protection." Mayor Hu crossed his fingers and constantly twisted them. He seemed to be dispelling the uneasiness in his heart. "Listen to me and you'll know." "Please continue." Li Fan nodded. Mayor Hu looked at the sky outside the window and continued to talk about his own matters. "I've been working here for 3 months. It's been safe and sound. But in the 4th month, something strange happened." Mayor Hu's face seemed to be a bit ugly. Songshan Town has a total of 162 families and 540 people. But in just 1 month, more than 100 people went missing. There are less than 400 people left. Chapter 1188. Mayor Hu's face became more and more unsightly. Then, disappearances became a nightmare for Songshan Town. Every day, people went missing. Every day, people disappeared. I have been investigating, but I couldn't find the cause of the missing people. All the policemen in the town had disappeared, and no one was listening to me. Later, I could only organize the remaining people to guard this place. Although I don't know if it's true or not, there is an old rumor in the town that there is a monster living in the Rock Dragon Cave. This monster will come out every 1,000 years to eat people, and only return to the cave after eating 999 people. There is such a saying? You believe it? Li Fan looked at Mayor Hu in front of him. As a member of the organization, he should be an atheist. Looking at his current appearance, Li Fan really can't associate him with a mayor. He was probably the first mayor to live such a fearful and aggrieved life. No matter what, for the time being, let's believe it. Mayor Hu showed a helpless expression. "I heard that the monster is blind. As long as you wear black clothes, it won't see." In the past, when Songshan Town was still being developed as a tourist attraction, the Rock Dragon Cave was also a tourist attraction. When the tour guide brought the tourists in, they also asked them to change into black clothes. The townspeople repeatedly suggested to me, so we all changed into this black robe. The remaining more than 100 townspeople also sealed the town, hoping to turn this only place into a fortress to prevent the monster from entering. "Why don't you leave Songshan Town?" Li Fan asked. "As long as we leave here, won't the problem be solved?" For many of the people here, Songshan Town is their home. Mayor Hu explained, "Especially me, how should I explain it to the organization? There is a monster here, so we have to move the townspeople? Agent Comrade, I also suffer. It's not easy to be a mayor. Didn't we send a squad of scouts before? What happened to them? These scout warriors did make a trip here before. Then they didn't listen to our advice and directly went to the Rock Dragon Cave. After that, they never came back. Most likely they were eaten by the monster." Dragon Girl muttered. "Since they woke up, they still need to eat. What does this mean?" Hearing this, Mayor Hu's hair stood on end and he hurriedly asked. "It's fine, just ignore her." Li Fan patted Dragoness lightly, indicating that she should not speak carelessly. "Are you sure that monster is hiding in the Stone Dragon Cave?" "I think so. Some of the townsfolk have seen a monster nearby. I heard that it was a monster with 2 heads, and it was terrifying. 2-headed monsters. Do you have any impression of them?" Li Fan asked Dragon Lady. "Why are you asking me now?" Dragoness turned her head away proudly. "I don't want to tell you. 6 boxes of chips." Back in our time, there was a type of 2-headed wolf demon that was savage in nature. "I see." Li Fan continued to look at Mayor Hu. "How about this? Let's go to the Stone Dragon Cave to have a look. After the investigation, I will tell you the results." "Heavens, you two, don't go to the Stone Dragon Cave. It's too dangerous." Mayor Hu hurriedly stopped them. "The 2 of you are only here for an investigation, right? Are there any other troops coming? If you want to go to the Stone Dragon Cave, you need tanks and cannons at least. With Song Town's terrain, tanks and cannons can't enter at all. Li Fan reminded Mayor Hu, "Don't be afraid, we are both professionals. Leave the problem here to us." "It seems that you are determined to go." Mayor Hu sighed, "How about this? It's getting late, you guys can leave tomorrow. Rest here for the night, there is still some food in town. Let's not talk about others, but Song Town's beggar's chicken is the best, try it tonight. Then let's leave tomorrow." When Dragoness said this, her saliva began to drip. Li Fan silently thought, "This girl is too disappointing. Just a beggar's chicken can bribe her." Mayor Hu looked at Dragoness a few more times and found that Li Fan seemed to want to listen to this little girl's opinion. Could it be that this inconspicuous little girl was some kind of important person? "All right, I will first arrange a place for you two comrades to rest." Mayor Hu arranged for people to tidy up a small house and arranged it for Li Fan and Dragoness. The house is a bit dark, it is unknown how long it has been since someone lived here, there is not a bit of vitality in the house. This house must have someone to live in. No matter how old the house is, as long as someone lives in it, it will be lively. And if there is no one living here for a long time, you will feel a chill the moment you enter. This house is like this, it has a kind of gloomy feeling, making people feel very uncomfortable. "I like this ancient town, but I don't like this house." Dragoness sighed, "It's too damp." "Is it just damp?" "That's right, we dragons like to enjoy life." Dragoness emphasized, "It is best to sleep on a bed made of gold, that is the most comfortable." "Comfortable my ass, gold is soft. Those are all gold-plated, okay?" In any case, it is comfortable." Dragoness stretched her back. "Let's not talk anymore, I'm going to sleep first. Call me when it's time to eat chicken tonight." With that said, Dragoness lay down in the clean hanging basket, curled up into a ball, and fell asleep. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. He also sat on a mat by the side and began to meditate. Essence Qi gathered at the position of his dantian and slowly revolved. Li Fan's strength still needed more tempering. His essence Qi is still in the early stages and is not stable. This mat is slightly damp, but Li Fan used his essence Qi to dry it and it became much better. While meditating, Li Fan seemed to be able to sense everything around him. His essence Qi perception range has also increased by a lot. As long as he focused, the movements of the surrounding grass and trees would not be able to escape Li Fan's perception. The sky gradually turned dark and the surroundings were very quiet. Only the chirping of cicadas and birds could be heard. This primitive feeling of returning to nature made Li Fan relax, and the speed at which his essence Qi grew also increased a lot. There are no shortcuts to practicing martial arts. Reaching the heavens in a single step is a pipe dream. Cultivating step by step is the best way to practice martial arts. The essence Qi in Li Fan's body steadily increased. The surrounding cicadas chirping gradually stopped, and what replaced it was the concerto of frogs croaking. It was originally a pleasant sound of nature, but there was a hint of disharmony in it. Li Fan opened his eyes and glanced towards the balcony. He slowly stood up and stood in front of the window, looking at the ancient city under the moonlight. The remaining residents seemed to sleep very early at night, or rather, they did not like to light their lamps. It was only 6 o'clock, but the ancient city was already pitch black. Under the moonlight, it exuded a certain oppressive feeling. Chapter 1189. He had promised to call him for dinner in the evening, but there was no news from Mayor Hu. The surroundings were quiet. The ancient city seemed to be dead, and no one was awake. Li Fan heard some faint movements downstairs. He went down to the first floor. The originally dim chandelier on the first floor had been extinguished. Li Fan's eyes were dark, but he quickly adapted. The surrounding objects slowly appeared in front of Li Fan. In this dilapidated small house, there was only a sofa and an old wooden coffee table in the living room on the first floor. The floor of the living room was originally made of wood, but it was almost rotten. If one stepped on it, one would be afraid of sinking into it. Li Fan glanced at the sofa and found a person in a black cloak sitting on it. From the rhythm of the other party's breathing, Li Fan could tell that it was a woman. The other party suddenly jumped up from the sofa. She seemed to have adapted to the darkness. She looked at Li Fan's position and rushed over. She rushed into Li Fan's arms and was held by Li Fan with his right hand. The woman's fragrance drifted into Li Fan's nose, making Li Fan feel extremely good. This smell, it's Luluo. Li Fan's left hand pressed down on Luluo's wrist to prevent the sharp knife she was holding from stabbing into his lower abdomen. Beauty, isn't it a little too exciting to find me so late at night? Li Fan's voice rang in her ear. Get out of this town. The beauty growled. She seemed to be really angry. She desperately tried to pull her hand out of Li Fan's control, but Li Fan was so strong that no matter how she struggled, she could not escape from Li Fan's palm. She went crazy and used the weapon that women were best at, teeth. Luo bit Li Fan's wrist, trying to make him let go of her hand. Li Fan was worried that Luo's teeth would be broken, so he deliberately withdrew a part of his shield of vigor. His wrist was bitten until it bled, and a faint fishy smell wafted through the air. Luo was still biting on tightly, refusing to let go. Comrade Special Agent. At this moment, the light from the fire shone in and shone on Li Fan and the others. Mayor who stood outside with a few black-robed men beside him. All of their faces were lowered, looking somewhat gloomy. Luo, stop messing around. Mayor who ordered, and two burly men immediately stepped forward and dragged Luo away. Luo exerted a shocking amount of strength, but she was still biting down on Li Fan's hand, as if she was going to bite off a piece of flesh. Luo was forcibly taken away, and Mayor who stood in front of Li Fan with an apologetic expression. There was some regret in his eyes, as if he was blaming himself for Luo's behavior. I'm really sorry, Comrade Agent. Because of her husband, Luo had always been mentally unstable. She doesn't mean any harm. She just doesn't like outsiders. Please don't be angry. It's nothing, just a small injury. They pulled me out of bed, stripped me naked, and hung me in the square for an entire day. Li Fan frowned. Are the local police not going to do anything? Oh, the local police chief is from the same family as them. He turns a blind eye to what they do. Didn't you report it to the higher-ups? I did, but they only told me that Song Town is nationalized and difficult to manage. They asked me to be patient and deal with it slowly. In other words, the higher-ups have given up on Song Town. Li Fan heard the reason. Not only Song Town, they even gave up on me. Mayor who smiled bitterly. I just figured out why I was transferred to this barren place when I was doing a good job. When I was in the district, I offended some people because I wanted to crack down on the illegal cars in the district. You've seen the result. So, what are you trying to say? Li Fan looked at Mayor who in front of him. The light from the fire and the stone in the cave reflected on his face, making his expression particularly twisted and ferocious. So, someone has to come out and punish these people. Mayor who swept the torch to the side, and a dark cave behind him was illuminated. Li Fan looked inside. There were many corpses hanging in this cave. Some of them were even wearing police uniforms. Obviously, they were the police of this town. Their expressions were extremely twisted when they died, as if they were terrified at the moment of death. Their bodies were dripping with blood. Some were missing arms, some were missing legs. All of them looked miserable. And the dragon girl was calmly eating sweet potatoes at the side, as if the stench and the disgusting scene had nothing to do with her. These people, although their souls are stinky, their flesh is fragrant. Mayor whose smile became more and more twisted. Li Fan's elemental energy was slowly rising. Actually, I'm still quite worried. Before, that silly girl Luo always wanted to drive you guys away, probably because she was afraid that I would eat you guys. She doesn't understand me, and I'm so good to her. You really have a heavy taste. The dragon girl finally complained. Human flesh tastes so bad. But human flesh can prolong life. Mayor whose eyes were full of excitement. You guys have heard my experience. I was transferred here to be the mayor 30 years ago. At that time, I was 50 years old. But first, I'm 80 years old now, but look at me, I'm only 40 years old, right? Human flesh can indeed prolong life, but ordinary eating methods are useless. The dragon girl was very familiar with these things. You are the magical beast of this town. Magical beast? No, 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 I'm an immortal. Mayor Hu laughed. That monkey son, before Zhu Beiji became a Buddha, didn't he eat human flesh? Oh right, you two are guests from afar, right? If I use something like beggar's chicken to entertain you, I'm afraid you'll say that I'm not a good host. I'm very generous. Alright, look at this guy. Mayor Hu grabbed the corpse of the policeman beside him. He's the police chief here. He's been dead for 20 years. The uglier the person, the more fragrant the meat. So, I've kept him until now, and I'm not even willing to eat him. Alright, don't worry, this cave has a special composition. The corpses placed here, even after 100 years, are still vivid and lifelike, and their flesh doesn't rot. So, back then, the emperor came here because he wanted this place to be his imperial mausoleum. Mayor Hu seemed a little excited. He gesticulated with his hands and feet on the police chief's corpse. This is the thigh meat, it's the chewiest. This is the buttocks, the rear buttocks are soft, it's the most suitable for frying. Alright, this is the most tender meat, the neck meat. The meat here is the essence of the whole body, dipped in salt and eaten raw, it's the best. The two of you, look, which one do you want to eat? Mayor Hu let out a low roar. There's not enough food to eat. Last time, a group of soldiers ate it all. We need fresh food. I still have half a sweet potato. Do you want to eat it? The dragoness handed over the half-sweet potato in her hand. Bastard! You guys drank my medicinal wine, why are you fine? Mayor Hu couldn't understand. Your knockout drug is nothing compared to Song Fuya's poison. Li Fan smiled. Impossible, even an elephant can be knocked out. How should I say this? Both of us are a little stronger than an elephant. Nonsense, how can an elephant, that cute little animal, be compared to me? The dragoness suddenly swallowed her saliva. By the way, I want to eat elephant meat, especially the elephant trunk. It will be delicious when it's done. You're as perverted as this Mayor Hu. Humph, I've just eaten a little more. The dragoness said as she reached out her hand and pushed away a townspeople who was near her. That townspeople was like being hit by a cannonball. His body flew out for dozens of meters and smashed into a stone wall behind him. His bones were broken into pieces. Damn it! You monsters! Mayor Hu raised his pistol. It was a Type 54 pistol from the early years. It should have belonged to the chief of police. He aimed at Li Fan and continuously pulled the trigger. Bang bang bang. The bullets hit the surrounding walls, causing rubble to fly everywhere, and the ricocheting bullets knocked down the townspeople nearby. You still need to practice your marksmanship. Li Fan winked at Mayor Hu. Damn it. Mayor Hu calmed himself down, held the pistol, and carefully aimed at Li Fan. Bang. He fired again, and the gunshot echoed in the cave. Li Fan raised his foot and directly kicked the bullet away. The bullet drew a golden trail and bounced on the nearby stalactite, shattering a hanging stalactite. Impossible! You monster! It's not appropriate for you to say that. Li Fan laughed. He kept kicking, and his body seemed to leave after images, kicking down more than a dozen townspeople in a row. Guillotine. With this move, Li Fan continued to harvest other people's lives. Hurry up, I want to go back to eat. The dragoness urged. Got it. Although Li Fan said so, he stood in place. He stretched out his right hand and gathered his primordial qi, and the surrounding rubble immediately gathered toward his palm. These rubble were crushed and then kneaded together. Soon, it condensed into a palm-sized stone sword. This stone sword was glowing with a gray luster, which made Mayor Hu shudder. The stone sword suddenly left his hand and instantly drew a gray shadow. Almost in an instant, it pierced through the necks of several townspeople. More than 100 townspeople were all killed on the spot. Only Mayor Hu was still standing there. Hee. But to his surprise, Mayor Hu laughed. Have you gone crazy? Li Fan tilted his head and looked at Mayor Hu. It seems that eating too much human flesh also affects one's intelligence. Although I'm a little unhappy, I still have to thank you. Mayor Hu put down his pistol. This Songshan town, more than 100 people are too many. My food reserves are not enough for them to eat. Now that you've helped me get rid of them, it's also a good thing. I can also leave this place and go to other cities. There's more food there, and I don't need to eat fresh-keeping products, right? Unfortunately, you won't have this opportunity. As Li Fan spoke, his body flashed and suddenly appeared in front of Mayor Hu. Then he kicked his head. Mayor Hu took 2 steps back. Suddenly, dozens of black threads flew out of his neck, along with his head, and then forcibly pulled his head back and reattached it. Chapter 1192. You're surprised, right? Mayor Hu straightened his head and looked at Li Fan. You can't kill me because you're just food. Use the Shangfang sword. The dragon girl said, stretched out her hand, and a golden light appeared in her palm. The golden light gradually condensed and slowly formed a golden sword. The Shangfang sword, the symbol of Li Fan's identity. For some reason, seeing the appearance of this sword, Mayor Hu's proud eyes retracted and subconsciously took a few steps back. There was some fear on his face, as if he was instinctively afraid of this sword. This sword was originally used to kill mythological beasts, and it also has a strong effect on magical beasts. The dragon girl explained. Thank you. Li Fan waved his hand, raised his middle finger and index finger, and pointed at Mayor Hu. Under the control of his Yuan Qi, the Shangfang sword was directly unsheathed, and with a golden light, it instantly stabbed out. Mayor Hu almost subconsciously dodged, and the sword cut off one of his arms. His arm fell to the side, turning into a black sewage. It seems that your rebirth ability has failed. Li Fan winked at him. Why do you want to kill me? Mayor Hu was hysterical. The organization harmed me and made me fall to this point. Shouldn't you go against the organization? There may be some black sheep in the organization, but there are also some knowledgeable people. Li Fan said very flatly, just like the recently emerged Imperial Army. Imperial concubine Zhou asked me more than once, why don't I use my identity as the Shangfang sword to completely destroy this organization? But is it enough to destroy the Imperial Army? The so-called Imperial Army is nothing more than a code name. Even if I destroy it, the internal rot will breed other organizations like the Imperial Guards and the Red Guards, and they will become my enemy. What I want to deal with is not the Imperial Army, nor some politicians. I just want to protect everything that I cherish. He looked at the Shangfang sword in his hand. I was forced by the situation to accept this sword. The higher-ups need me and I need them. We are just using each other. At the end of the day, I, Li Fan, am just a martial artist. I am not a politician, much less a ruler. You should learn from me and destroy them. Destroy everything, even destroy this unfair world. Mayor Hu tempted Li Fan, you have such great power, why don't you use it? The Shangfang sword is a guardian, not a destroyer. Li Fan answered very simply, that's where we're different. I'm a human being. I have feelings. But you are a beast, you can disregard your own family for your own sake. Hypocrite! I curse you! Mayor Hu roared, I curse you, you will destroy everything in the end. You will become the greatest demon king in this world. The person you love will die for you. Those who worship you will come for your life. Mayor Hu repeatedly cursed, but before he finished, Li Fan had already appeared behind him. At the same time, Mayor Hu's head flew into the sky. In the end, spare Luo Luo, she didn't do anything wrong. Mayor Hu's body slowly turned into smelly black water. At that moment, Li Fan seemed to see something. His spiritual force is very strong. At the moment of his death, he saw Mayor Hu's last memory. Mayor Hu used his body to protect Luo Luo. Behind him was a group of people throwing eggs and stones at them. Adulterous couple. Shameless. In the next scene, Mayor Hu and Luo Luo were hung on the frame, exposed to the sun, washed by the rain, and thrown stones by the people around them. I will take you out of this town. Then came the next scene. Mayor Hu, with a stubbled face, held Luo Luo's hand and said to her. They ran in the wilderness. Behind them was a chasing crowd. No one can escape from here. The next moment, Luo Luo was in front of Mayor Hu, being carried by dozens of men. This is a crazy country. Only beasts survive here. Luo Luo's eyes were pale. Mayor Hu suddenly grabbed the police chief's pistol and fired. Li Fan suddenly woke up and returned to the grotto. There was black water all around, and the stench was so strong that Dragon Girl couldn't help but cover her nose. Let's go home. Li Fan pulled Dragon Girl and the two of them walked out of the grotto. Outside, the sun slowly rose and sunlight sprinkled down. A beautiful woman in a black robe stood under the sunlight and looked at them. Luluo? The woman slowly took off her black cloak. The sunlight sprinkled on her body, making her smile look very warm. At that moment, Li Fan felt as if he had been redeemed. Thank you for saving him. Luo Luo's body vaporized bit by bit and dissipated in the sunlight. Only this whisper remained in his ears. What did you see before he died? Dragon Girl suddenly asked. Nothing, just an affair between a man and a woman. Li Fan looked at the sunlight and stretched. The air is so good. I really want to bring Murong Ing here to smell it, so that she can forget everything at home. What did you say? Dragon Girl looked at Li Fan in surprise. Li Fan was also a little surprised. Why did he suddenly think of Murong Ing? By the way, you should like Murong Ing, right? That's impossible. Li Fan refused to admit it. How could I like that arrogant woman? Xiao, AI told me that although she wants to dominate you, she can see that you really like Murong Ing. Dragon Girl said what Murong loved. Since you like her, why don't you go and snatch her? That way, she will hate me. Li Fan took out his phone and sent a message to his contact. The helicopter will pick us up soon. I will prepare a feast for you. Oh, what do you think? I am quite competent, right? Li Fan boasted, you can go to bed early too. You can also save me some food expenses. After observing for so long, your character is passable. Hey, what do you mean by passable? There is something wrong with your sexual orientation. What? Li Fan's face changed. Are you kidding me? No, don't you think so? You have so many women around you, but you are the best to lose Zhu, right? You seem to have endless topics to talk about with him. For the past few nights, you talked until late at night before going back to your room. Xiaowan also complained a few times, right? We were just chatting. Li Fan emphasized, don't misunderstand. He and I are really just brothers. Maybe. Dragon Girl suddenly couldn't help but laugh. What are you laughing at? I'm laughing at you for being stupid. How am I stupid? Li Fan was unhappy. At this time, the helicopter flew over their heads. Because Lu Zhu, the helicopter covered the rest of his words. Chapter 1193. Why are you looking at me like that? In the dojo, Lu Zhu is standing in front of Li Fan. He is holding the stone lock while looking at Li Fan in front of him. Li Fan is recalling the Dragon Girl's words that day. Behind him is covered by the helicopter, so Li Fan didn't hear it clearly. After that, the Dragon Girl didn't say it a second time, making Li Fan a little annoyed. Do I like you? The stone lock in Lu Zhu's hand suddenly falls down, fiercely hitting Li Fan's foot. Even with his aura shield, this made Li Fan feel pain. Fuck? Are you trying to kill me? Why did you suddenly ask such a question? Lu Zhu's expression seems to be a bit panicked. He is a handsome young man, usually very calm, but today he is restless, as if he doesn't know what to do. He even averts his eyes, not daring to look directly at Li Fan. There are always people saying that our relationship is not normal. But I think it's quite normal. Li Fan is very puzzled. Aren't the two of us the most solid brotherhood? I feel that they are all fujoshi. It's definitely because both of us are handsome that they think we are a pair. TSK, society's morals are deteriorating day by day. Li Fan shakes his head and sighs. Lu Zhu, however, recovered and in turn, ridicules Li Fan. How are you handsome? At most, you can be considered delicate. You are obviously doubting my handsomeness. Li Fan glares at him. Look at my charm, even a peerless beauty like Imperial Concubine Zhou was conquered by me. You are a bit arrogant, young man. Lu Zhu seems a bit unhappy when he mentioned this. Didn't she conquer you? Li Fan doesn't know how to defend himself. Damn, this question makes him feel helpless. In any case, we are just brothers, right? If you want to develop deeper, you can. Lu Zhu winks at Li Fan. Life can occasionally be a little fresh. Go away. Li Fan rolled his eyes at him. Hurry up and continue your cultivation. Your basic skills are too weak. You need to hone them. Do you understand? Yes, Master Li. Lu Zhu picked up the stone dumbbell again and continued to practice her basic skills. Li Fan sat on an armchair at the side, watching the few people practicing in front of him. Jiang Yi brought the lower-level disciples to another place to train. This was a place that belonged to the inner sect disciples. Jin Kumo was also practicing inside. She was still practicing the mantis fist, but it had been improved by Li Fan. The current praying mantis fist was more direct and ferocious. Complemented by the primordial chi that Jin Hisao had raised, the might of the praying mantis fist was incomparable. Wang Xiaoran and the others had also become a little stronger. With her straightforward personality helping to take care of her two junior brothers, Li Fan had a lot less to worry about. He was on a whim, but it was easy for him to be a hands-off shopkeeper. Because of the Shangfang sword, the royal guards didn't dare to make a fuss after being slapped in the face by him last time. Everyone said that the royal guards were holding him back, but in fact, it was Li Fan who had been playing hooligan with the royal guards. The entire Sima family hated Li Fan to the core, but there was nothing they could do about it. Li Fan. Dragoness pushed the door open and walked into the training room. Li Fan. What's wrong? Didn't you play League of Legends? What's there to play? Xiao AI isn't here. Did she sneak out to play? Li Fan looked at the courtyard outside. The weather is good today. It's sunny and windy. What's there to play? She hasn't been feeling well these 2 days and hasn't gone out. Not feeling well? What's wrong with her? Li Fan was a little anxious. Something happened, idiot. Dragoness rolled her eyes at Li Fan. I don't see you caring about her usually. Ahem, it's my fault. Li Fan coughed dryly. Then where could she have gone? Did she go out to buy something? We always call for express delivery when we buy things. Does Murong AI miss? The skinny guy suddenly interrupted. I saw her in the morning. Someone seemed to be looking for her, so she went out. Someone is looking for her? Li Fan frowned. Murong AI did not know anyone here. How could someone be looking for her? Could it be the work of the royal army again? Lu Zhu was smart in this aspect. He suddenly asked. If it's them, I'll tear them into pieces. Li Fan stood up. Don't be rash. It's just a hypothesis. Lu Zhu pondered for a moment. The alarm you installed didn't go off. That means Murong AI is fine now. I'll go out and take a look. Li Fan was worried. He planned to go out and look for her himself. At this moment, an angry voice came from outside. Li Fan, come out. The curses outside were like thunder, scolding unceasingly. Who is outside? So noisy. Lu Xiaohu was very unhappy. He rolled up his sleeves and was ready to go out to fight. Stop. Li Fan stopped him. You can't beat the person outside. Who is it? Lu Xiaohu looked strange. The patriarch of the Murong family, Murong Bo, Li Fan said, opened the door and walked into the courtyard. When Lu Xiaohu and the others heard this, they were shocked. That old dog Murong actually came to the entrance of the martial arts school? You guys practice inside. Don't come out. I'll go out with Master. Lu Xiaohu immediately followed. Imperial Concubine Zhou was afraid that Li Fan would be at a disadvantage. She quickly followed and went out together. Murong Bo was wearing a white martial arts uniform. He stood in the courtyard of the martial arts school. His eyes were like thunder. He was staring fiercely at Li Fan. He was so angry that even his subordinates didn't dare to approach him. They could only hide far behind him. Li Fan was wearing a black and red martial arts uniform. He stood opposite of Murong Bo. Li Fan, I want to avenge my daughter. Murong Bo didn't even give Li Fan a chance to speak. In an instant, he jumped and appeared in front of Li Fan. He stretched out his hand and directly sent a flame palm toward the center of Li Fan's eyebrows. His palm was as red as fire. It was like a flame falling from the sky, falling toward Li Fan. Li Fan stood there and stretched out his right palm. A bear king seal collided with Murong Bo's palm. Bang! The two took a step back at the same time. The ground in the courtyard collapsed. A lot of gravel flew up and floated in the air. As the two stepped back, they fell to the ground. Li Fan, go to hell. Murong Bo seemed to have taken mad dog medicine. His eyes were red and his nose was snorting. He once again chased in front of Li Fan. Both of his hands used a flame palm. He aimed at Li Fan's ears. He couldn't wait to slap Li Fan into meat paste. Li Fan frowned. As he took a step back, his heart was still puzzled. Although Murong Bo wasn't a good person, he was rarely so emotional. What's wrong with him today? Did he take too many aphrodisiacs and have nowhere to vent? This is the Seven Heroes Martial Arts School. It's not your turn to be presumptuous. Li Fan raised his elemental chi. Taking advantage of Murong Bo's gap, he directly sent a guillotine kick. Chapter 1194. What kind of experience does Murong have? Even if he is a little crazy, he can still judge the power of Li Fan's kick. He transferred the power of Star Luo Divine Art. His palm shone and directly slapped Li Fan's calf. Bang! Li Fan's calf was bounced off and Murong's palm emitted white smoke. Both of them took a step back at the same time. Both of them were shocked by each other's strength. Li Fan, today I will make you pay for my daughter's life. Murong has obviously gone mad. He stepped forward again and the war god behind him jumped out. A palm fell from the sky and smashed towards Li Fan's head. Li Fan also released the flying lion goddess. With a bear subduing, he grabbed the war god's arm. Together with Murong, he beautifully threw them over his shoulder and directly smashed them into the courtyard behind him. Bang! The ground heavily trembled again. Murong Bo was lying on the ground. His fall was not light. Although he almost has the strength of a semi-sage, Li Fan's vitality is too strong to restrain true energy. He is actually evenly matched with Murong and even faintly suppressing him. Another reason is that Murong was too angry and lost his cool. Otherwise, with Murong's fighting ability, he would not be so easily knocked down by him. Give me your life. Murong Bo is also not someone who can be knocked down in one strike. He flipped his body and directly jumped up. After that, the great war god grabbed a 5-meter-long light sword and threw it into the air, suspending it above Li Fan's head. This familiar move, Li Fan naturally recognized it at a glance. God slaying. A bolt of lightning struck down, as thick as a bucket, heading straight for Li Fan. The sky seemed to be split open. The momentum is astonishing. Everyone present was alarmed. Even Imperial concubine Zhou frowned. Li Fan's move under Murong's display has become a bit more fierce. Golden body. This was a move created by Li Fan himself. He used his shield of vigor to protect his entire body. The shield of vigor was strengthened by his primal chi. Furthermore, Li Fan had condensed his vital energy into something like steel, sealing himself within. This way, the enemy would not be able to attack him, and he would not be able to attack the enemy. The so-called golden body was to purify one's golden body and prevent all evils from invading. Li Fan had tested it before. Once he activated his golden body, even the machine guns of the Imperial Guards could do nothing to him. However, this was the first time he had to face Murong's god-slaying head-on, so Li Fan was a little uncertain. But regardless of whether he wanted to or not, the lightning had already descended from the sky and instantly swallowed him. A half-meter deep crater appeared on the ground. It could be seen just how powerful the god-slaying sword was. For a moment, dust and smoke filled the air, making it impossible to see what was going on inside. Murong waved her palm, and the wind from her palm blew away the dust, revealing the figure inside. Li Fan was still standing steadily in the crater, safe and sound, without a single injury on his body. Murong's eyes widened, and Li Fan himself was a little surprised. This golden body was too useful. It could even defend against God's slaying sword. He didn't know if he could defend against a nuclear bomb. Li Fan really wanted to give it a try. This was an extremely suicidal action. Li Fan, you won't be able to survive for long. Murong roared as he raised his palms and jumped in front of Li Fan. His palms struck out continuously striking Li Fan's body. Li Fan's golden body withstood the attack of Murong's flame palm, and the golden body kept ringing. It was as if Murong was not attacking Li Fan, but a bronze bell. But even if it was a bronze bell, it should have been shattered by his palm. After fighting for a whole minute, a crack finally appeared on Li Fan's golden body. It seemed that the endurance of the golden body was limited. Once the limit was broken, Li Fan would not be able to use the golden body again for at least 5 minutes. Li Fan die. The great god of war popped out again, holding a ball of chi bead in his hand, and smashed it towards Li Fan. Generally speaking, true chi bullets were used for long-range attacks. But if it was a close-range attack, it would be difficult for the enemy to dodge. But in this way, he would also suffer the backlash of power. Murong was going crazy. He didn't care whether he was injured or not. In the blink of an eye, the true chi bullet had already torn through Li Fan's golden body. With a crisp sound, the true chi bullet landed on Li Fan's body. Humph! But the flying lion goddess behind Li Fan stretched out her hands and directly caught the true chi bullet. This true chi bullet was controlled by the flying lion goddess and floated in front of Li Fan. And the great god of war pushed the true chi bullet, trying to destroy Li Fan's defense. The two martial gods' true bodies fought for this true chi bullet. At the same time, because they had to constantly transfer power, the true chi bullet became bigger and bigger, and it became more and more difficult to control. No one around dared to intervene. Even Imperial concubine Zhou kept her hands in her sleeves and stood by the side to watch the show. No matter what Murong's character was like, his strength was very strong. These two people's fight was really too exciting. Li Fan's apprentices were also watching intently, and those apprentices were leaning on the window, watching with shining eyes. Too powerful. This is a martial grandmaster. And not far away, there was a group of Imperial guards patrolling. When they saw that it was Li Fan and Murong fighting, they didn't go forward to stop them. They couldn't stop them. These two people's background was too strong. This was a fight between immortals. They just hoped that they wouldn't be affected. And that true chi bullet was already as big as a millstone. If this went on, I'm afraid that both of them would be injured. But Li Fan's goal was achieved. He looked at Murong and suddenly opened his mouth. Puff! A sword with lightning spewed out from his mouth and directly shot towards Murong's throat. Almost in an instant, Murong's great god of war dispersed. He stretched out his right hand and crushed the lightning sword. And the true chi bullet was also pushed by Li Fan's flying lion goddess and hit Murong's body. With a bang, Murong's body was blown away. He turned a circle in the air and finally landed on the ground in a sorry state. Murong, is this all you've got? Li Fan and Murong's martial arts were almost the same, but he relied on a variety of moves to beat Murong's back. After a few times, Murong had completely lost his patience. Li Fan, don't be complacent. Murong opened his arms and the great god of war popped out from his back. This great god of war seemed to roar and spread out his true chi, causing the surrounding soil to fly up again. Billowing dust covered the area, wrapping their figures in it. And then, Murong's palms clapped together, setting off another storm that blew away the smoke. The huge figure of the great god of war was slowly shrinking, and soon it shrank into a golden armor that was worn on his body. This was the armor of the god of war. It was completely golden and had the pattern of a swimming dragon on it. At this time, Murong was like a divine general that came down from the heavens, glaring at Li Fan, wanting to descend from the heavens. Martial god true body, second stage? This time, it was Li Fan's turn to be surprised. Chapter 1195. Murong Bo was indeed a heaven-warping genius. He had only seen Li Fan use the second stage of the martial god True Body once, but he was able to do it himself. The first stage of the martial god True Body was powerful and had a shocking aura. After all, the ancients believed in great strength. The martial god True Body was often much larger than a human. This was the strength of a giant. Even in the Nine Truths Essence technique, the larger the martial god True Body was, the more powerful it was. However, Li Fan did the opposite. He compressed the martial god True Body and attached it to his body. Murong Bo wore a golden armor and held a golden sword. He was like a god of war that descended from the sky to take Li Fan's life. Li Fan instantly entered the second stage of the martial god True Body. He wore a full set of flying lion battle armor, making him look as mighty as a lion king. Murong Bo teleported a few times and appeared in front of Li Fan. He raised his sword and the sword energy tore through the sky, slashing towards Li Fan's face. Li Fan leaned to the side and dodged Murong Bo's terrifying sword energy. At the same time, he clenched his left hand into a fist and punched Murong Bo's face. Lion King Fist. Li Fan's Lion King Fist was a fist technique he created by combining his own primordial chi. His fist punched out and his primordial chi pushed the fist to explode. It was like shooting out a cannonball. Furthermore, it was so fast that it was almost invisible to the naked eye. Everyone only saw a flash of golden light before Murong Bo slid backward. He stabbed his sword into the ground and stabilized his body. However, Murong Bo was Murong Bo. He took Li Fan's Lion King Fist head-on and did not react. After he stabilized his body, he grabbed his sword with both hands and pulled it out. Then, he threw out a few golden sword energy that pressed down on Li Fan. Li Fan's Lion King Fist struck out consecutively. Golden light flickered in the air as he struck down Murong Bo's sword energy. These two people are too powerful. Wang Xiaoran watched from behind the window with a longing expression. It turned out that the battle between experts was so exciting. Today is the day you die. Murong wouldn't stop until he killed Li Fan. He roared and picked up his sword. His body instantly sped up. Murong Bo displayed his unique skill. His whole body turned into a sword light and shot towards Li Fan. Golden sparks erupted from Li Fan's body, and large scratches appeared on his armor. In an instant, Murong was already standing behind Li Fan. His sword light had almost hit its target 100% of the time, but he had also suffered from the rebound of the power. White smoke was still coming out of his Ares armor. Looks like you're really going all out. Li Fan looked at the furious Murong Bo and thought to himself that it would be a fight to the death today. Murong Bo continued to chase. He turned into a sword light again and shot towards Li Fan. Li Fan flipped and leaped 5 meters high, landing on the roof of his dojo. Murong Bo's sword light sliced through the locust tree behind Li Fan, splitting the century-old locust tree into two. Sigh. It's a pity for the big locust tree in my courtyard. Li Fan sighed, feeling very regretful. Where are you going? Murong Bo stomped his feet and used 8 steps overtaking Cicada. He also jumped onto the roof and fought with Li Fan again. Li Fan's attacking style had always been fast and continuous attacks. Basically, he could determine the victor in 4 or 5 moves. However, it was very difficult for him to do so when facing Murong Bo. Murong Bo was a leading figure in the martial arts world. Back then, he was an existence that could beat him to a pulp. Now that he was on par with him, Li Fan was already a great fortune. If he wanted to defeat Murong Bo, apart from strength, he also needed a bit of luck. Just as the two of them were locked in battle, the Seven Heroes Dojo was suddenly surrounded by the Imperial Guards. The Imperial Guards, all dressed in black suits, split into 2 rows and let Sima and Di Wuliang walk in. At this time, Sima was accompanied by 4 soldier-level experts. Di Wuliang had also been temporarily promoted to a horse-level cadre. There were also 8 Prime Minister-level cadre on his left and right, acting as Sima Hui's bodyguards. These people were carrying a Chinese divine weapon in their hands. They were aggressive as if they were here to vanquish demons. You too, can you stop now? As he spoke, all the black-suited men pulled out their pistols and aimed at the 2 people on the roof. Murong Bo stopped and looked at Sima Hui coldly. Sima Hui, are you trying to rebel? It's you who's rebelling, isn't it? Sima Hui laughed. Murong Bo, as a general-level cadre, you openly violated the ban on martial arts and fought with another martial artist here. Now that the two of you are wanted, why don't you surrender? I'm here to report. Before Murong Bo could finish his words, Murong Bo just happened to enter the crowd. You guys? Li Fan and Murong Bo were both smart people. They had already figured out what was going on. This move of driving the tiger to chase the wolf was really awesome. Sima Hui, you're really good at scheming. Li Fan slightly narrowed his eyes. His gaze was filled with a fierce glint. Baby girl, are you okay? Murong Bo had already jumped down from the roof and walked toward his daughter. However, Murong Bo's expression darkened and she took 2 steps back. Murong Bo's face was somewhat pale as she stopped in her tracks. Murong Bo, Li Fan, the two of you have been tyrannical for too long. Today, the heavens have eyes and I finally caught the evidence of the two of you. You've waited for this day for a long time. Li Fan also landed and looked at Sima Hui. However, I want to know, what can you do to me? Li Fan, do you want to openly defy the law? Fishing is illegal, my friend. Li Fan crossed his arms and looked at Sima Hui with disdain. Besides, I was only sparring with Murong Bo. I didn't even use internal force. Is that not allowed? You want to quibble? We've already recorded the video. Tisk, the special effects technology nowadays is so strong. Who knows if you guys used special effects to synthesize the video? You want to use this method to falsely accuse us? Too despicable. Whether you're a scoundrel or not, you have to accept our investigation to know. Sima Hui was also an old fox. He had waited for such a long time for this opportunity. How could he let Li Fan cover it up with just a few words? The evidence is sufficient. The two of you better obediently surrender. Sima Hui said loudly, if you resist, don't blame us for being impolite. I want to see how impolite you can be. Just as Li Fan was about to speak, his phone suddenly rang. On Murong Bo's side, there was also a call. The two of them had a tacit understanding at this time. No one knew who called them. Li Fan picked it up and heard that it was General Ran. Li Fan, accept the investigation for the time being. General Ran's voice came from the other end of the phone with a pleading tone. With the pressure from above, I can't handle this matter. What's the point of being an imperial sword? Li Fan sneered. I might as well quit. No, Li Fan. This time I want you to go in. There's one more thing that I want to ask of you. General Ran suddenly lowered his voice. Chapter 1196. Li Fan was taken to the Imperial Guards prison. The Imperial Guards prison was different from a normal prison. The prison was built on a submarine in the sea. The submarine was 1,000 meters long and 500 meters wide, like a giant beast lurking in the sea. It would only surface when prisoners came. Usually, it would sink to the bottom of the sea, hiding its traces. Li Fan couldn't help but admire Sima Hui. This man was really good at making trouble. He even deliberately built such a unique prison. According to Li Fan's thoughts, he would never be caught by the Imperial Guard and brought to such a damned place. At most, he would fight to the death. He would kill the Imperial Guard and then return to Li Family Island. However, General Ran sent a request to sneak into the Imperial Guard's prison to rescue Professor Kai. According to General Ran's information, Professor Kai was a former laboratory director of the 12 Heavenly Generals Department. He advocated the development of many high-tech technologies. But then, Dr. Kai disappeared, and his disappearance was inexplicable. Subsequently, the Imperial Guard developed the powerful dragon chip and China's divine weapon. General Ran and his staff analyzed that Professor Kai might have been taken away by the Imperial Guard. The base of the Royal Guards was under the supervision of the government. The only place that could hide Professor Kai was the dungeon that no one knew where. General Ran wanted to take this opportunity to let Li Fan break into the prison and find Professor Kai. Therefore, although he knew it was a big trap, Li Fan still had to jump into it. However, as long as he found Professor Kai and brought him back, It would probably be a major blow to the Imperial Guard. The facilities in the Celestial Prison were more modern. Each cell was independent and made of special glass. When Li Fan came in, he saw that many cells were already locked with many prisoners. Some were crazy, some were depressed. Some were walking around, and some were sleeping. In this kind of dark prison cell, one's mental energy would probably have to endure an arduous test. Bang! Li Fan was pushed into the cell, and the cell door was slammed shut. This cell was surrounded by glass on all sides. There was no privacy at all. Before Li Fan came, he was forced to take a cultivation dispersing pill. However, this pill targeted at martial fighters had no effect on Li Fan. When he swallowed the pill, he used his essence to wrap it up, and when no one was paying attention, he spat it out. However, the difficult part was the handcuffs on his hands and feet. They were made of a special alloy, so it would take some effort to break them. Li Fan sat cross-legged on the bed, silently circulating the Yuan Qi in his body. As for the martial arts club, General Ran had already sent people to protect it. Li Fan was not afraid that the Imperial Guards would play any tricks. This place was very quiet, very suitable for cultivation. It was a pity that Lu Wanner and Imperial concubine Zhou were not here to accompany him. He felt that his bed was a little cold. Cough, I might have been a little too greedy for gentleness recently. It was a good opportunity for him to change his environment and adjust his mentality and emotions. Li Fan sat there cross-legged. This was the first time he felt so peaceful. He allowed his emotions to relax and maintain an ethereal state. The vital energy in his dantian also began to circulate faster. The way of cultivating vital energy was similar to the way of cultivating vital energy. They both started from the dantian and went around the 8 extraordinary meridians in the human body. However, the definition of the small and large circulation of vital energy was different from the small and large circulation of vital energy. In the past, when cultivating vital energy, the vital energy would go around 36 times in the body, which was a small circulation. 72 minor circulations were equivalent to a major circulation. Practicing a large circulation would make a significant improvement in martial arts. When it came to essence qi, one small cycle was equivalent to one revolution of the earth. In other words, a full day of practice was one revolution of the earth around the sun. A large circulation was one revolution of the earth around the sun, which was 1 year. The process of cultivating vital energy was in line with the principles of heaven and earth. It was much more advanced than the vital energy, but it was also much more difficult. The cultivation of vital energy was more difficult than the vital energy, but the benefits were also much greater. Li Fan had an attitude of taking things as they came, which was very natural and unrestrained. When the people in the other cages saw Li Fan, some sneered, and some curled their lips. When they first came to this place, some would go crazy, while others pretended to be relaxed. After staying here for a period of time, they would break down. However, Li Fan did not have to rest for long before someone came outside. A man in a black tuxedo walked to the glass door of the cell. There were 2 Imperial Guards in black suits beside him. The Imperial Guards brought a chair for the man in the tuxedo and let him sit down. It was obvious that this man was of high status. Li Fan opened his eyes slightly and glanced at the man. The man had oily hair combed back and wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. He had a cigarette in his mouth and was sitting with his legs crossed. He was looking at Li Fan with interest, as if he was examining an interesting animal. "You're Li Fan, right?" The man looked at Li Fan and said with a smile, "Let me introduce myself. I'm the warden of this prison. My name is Yu Tu. I heard that the little tyrant of the martial arts world was locked up here, so I rushed here. I wonder if you're used to living here with me?" "It's good, but the bed is too hard." Li Fan had a smile on his face. Yu Tu observed him for a long time but could not tell what he was thinking. "You should improve the quality of life of the prisoners here," Li Fan suggested. "At least get a soft bed, it'll be more comfortable." "Aren't you a martial artist? You should like to sleep on a hard bed, it's good for your back. Martial artists should have their own pursuits in life." Li Fan patted the hard bed. This is a place paid for by the government. Don't tell me you're pocketing your own money? That's too much. I'm a conscientious person. Yu Tu flipped through Li Fan's information and said, "Look, your qualifications are amazing. At such a young age, you're already a tyrant in the martial arts world. You're too kind. You're too kind." Yu Tu closed the file and looked at Li Fan again. "In terms of rank, you're one rank higher than me. That's the top law enforcer in China. If you really think so, you can arrange a better room for me." "I can't do that, I'm really sorry." Yu Tu took a puff of his cigarette. "I don't care if you're a dragon or a tiger outside, you have to lie down here." "I'm neither a dragon nor a tiger," Li Fan replied casually. "And I don't lie down, I can stand and lie down when I want." After saying that, Li Fan directly lay on the bed with a big 8 shape. His expression was very comfortable, as if he was resting. "You're indeed the little tyrant. You can still be so arrogant even in a place like this." Yu Tu chuckled. "But I'll let you know soon enough that this isn't a place for you to do as you please." Chapter 1197. The door to the cell opened, and 2 royal guards came in and grabbed Li Fan. Li Fan didn't resist, he wanted to see what these royal guards had up their sleeves. The 2 royal guards dragged Li Fan all the way to a small room. Although the room was small, it was made of alloy and had all sorts of tools for torture. Modern ones included electric chairs, nails, and hammers. Ancient ones included cages, wooden donkeys, and ropes. There were even a few foreign ones, like a stool made of knives and iron virgins. It was a dazzling sight, sending chills down one's spine. Li Fan looked as if he was in his own house, his face expressionless, as if these tools were just toys. The 2 imperial guards pressed Li Fan down and locked him on the electric chair. "Li Fan, what do you think? Isn't this place nice?" The warden Yu Er had changed into a white robe and was picking out a scalpel from the table. "This is my favorite place in the entire prison." An assistant was wiping the scalpel for him when the warden suddenly raised his hand and slapped the assistant. "How many times have I told you? I need music when I'm praising art. Do you understand?" With that, he slapped him a few more times. The assistant covered his face in pain, but he still had to smile at the warden. He hurriedly went to the CD player next to him and played a serenade by Chopin. Yu Er's twisted expression changed, as if he was enjoying it. He was like a doctor saving the dying and healing the injured, his face full of benevolence. "All right, it's our time now." Yu Er walked to Li Fan's side, smiling at him. "You don't know how many iron men have sat on this chair. But after that, they all begged me for something. Do you know what it was? Change to a soft bed." Yu Er almost choked to death, but he recovered quickly, his smile still plastered on his face. "They begged me to kill them." "Do you want to know something from me?" Li Fan asked him. "No, I don't want to know anything." Yu Er's reply surprised Li Fan. "I'm just enjoying the pleasure of creating art on your bodies." As Yu Er spoke, he chose a scalpel that suited him. He turned around and slowly walked over to Li Fan amidst the music. He waved the scalpel in front of Li Fan, the glint of the blade piercing through his eyes. "This scalpel can easily cut flesh and bones." Yu Er introduced his scalpel. "Try it out." Yu Er took the scalpel and made a cut on Li Fan's arm. Normally, this saber strike would definitely split open the skin and flesh. However, blood would only flow out after a long time. But Li Fan's arm was still fine, without any injury. Yu Er frowned. He straightened Li Fan's arm and made 2 more cuts. Li Fan's arm felt like it was made of steel. Yu Er's scalpel almost curled up. "Didn't you say that your scalpel can easily cut flesh and bones?" Li Fan asked with a chuckle. "Looks like it won't work. I'll just say that you didn't do a good job with the infrastructure, right?" "You've already dispersed your cultivation? Do you have bronze skin and iron bones?" "More or less." Li Fan replied half-truthfully. "Even if the cultivation in my dantian is dispersed, the cultivation I've cultivated into my bones won't disperse. So what if I have bronze skin and iron bones? The best part is yet to come." Even if you're a zenith heavenly immortal, you'll still have to submit to me. Yu Er took out a small and exquisite remote control. Even if you can withstand the knife, you won't be able to withstand the electric chair. I'll give it a try. Li Fan's smile irritated Yu Er. It wasn't like he hadn't gnawed on tough bones before. But this time, Li Fan made him feel uncertain. Yu Er used to be a gangster in the pugilistic world. He had a nasty personality and was an opportunist. His martial arts weren't that impressive, but he was good at flattery. Later on, he met the Sima family by chance and became their guest. Yu Er was a smart man. Even though he was arrogant and domineering in the outside world, he was as obedient as a dog in front of Sima Hui. He could come up with some bad ideas, which helped Sima Hui a little. Later on, when Sima Hui wanted to renovate the Sky Prison, Yu Er was the only person close to him. Thus, he sent him here to be the prison's warden. Logically speaking, this was a boring job. After all, it would be difficult to return to the shore after coming here. But Yu Er was an exception. He enjoyed his life here, punishing the criminals sent here every day. There was nothing more delightful than watching these martial arts experts crumble under his methods. The remote control in his hand was in charge of adjusting the electricity of the chair. There were 3 levels of electricity. The first level was 220 V. If a normal person was electrocuted, they would either die or be crippled. But it was perfect for electrocuting martial artists. It would cause them pain, but it wouldn't endanger their lives. The second grade had a voltage of 500 V. That was deadly. If this strike landed on an ordinary person's body and they didn't die, they would have to be extremely lucky to not die. If a martial artist was hit, he would be half dead. The highest voltage was 1000 V. This was the last resort, used to kill. It wasn't useful if he didn't kill. Yu Er pushed it to first, wanting to make Li Fan suffer first. But when the electric current hit Li Fan, nothing happened. Li Fan was humming a little tune, happily following the rhythm of the serenade. Can you change it to something with a stronger beat? Let's go with the most dazzling ethnic style? Dazzling my ass. Yu Er immediately pushed it to second level. 500 V was enough to take away half your life. A purple glow appeared in Li Fan's eyes. The electricity was definitely working. But Li Fan still maintained a relaxed expression and said, "No, it's not enough." Again. Do you think you're Sun Wukong? Even though the higher-ups had given orders not to kill Li Fan, it was Yu Er's first time encountering such a criminal. He hesitated, unsure if he should push to third level. If he electrocuted Li Fan to death and Sima Hui blamed him, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. If he electrocuted Li Fan and Sima Hui blamed him, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Li Fan laughed. "You don't even dare to kill me?" Li Fan laughed. "You don't even dare to kill me?" Yu Er calmed down after hearing Li Fan's words. Yu Er quietened down after hearing Li Fan's words. "Looks like 1000 V won't be able to kill you. Or maybe you're just trying to scare me, to make me doubt myself and not dare to use third level." He turned to look at Li Fan. "That's why I want to try." Chapter 1198. Yu Er steeled his heart and pushed the remote control to third gear. In an instant, the lights in the room flickered as if a devil had descended. Li Fan's hair was trembling from the electricity, like a lion king. Actually, it wasn't just his hair. If not for his clothes, his hair would be standing on end. After 10 seconds of electricity, Yu Er switched off the electric chair. He was afraid that Li Fan would die. If he really died from the electricity, he would be finished. The lights came back on and the light shone on Li Fan's face. It was rosy and completely fine. Li Fan chuckled as he looked at the person in front of him. "I'm a little hungry. How's the food?" Yu Er was trembling with anger. Was there an end to this? Not even this? Who could withstand 1000 volts of electricity? Was Li Fan really a monkey made of steel? Yu Er was furious and subconsciously pushed the remote to third gear. A strong electric current immediately coursed through Li Fan's body, causing Li Fan to tremble slightly. Even for Li Fan, 1000 volts did not affect him at all. After all, he still had a human body, unlike the dragon lady, who was a fierce dragon. In the past, Li Fan had stored a portion of electricity in his body. He could freely convert electricity and true qi through exercise and cultivation. However, after Murongbo sucked it clean, the electricity was also sucked clean by him. Although Li Fan cultivated his true qi again, he did not touch the electric switch again. This time, Yu Er did not stand on ceremony and provided him with a lot of electricity. This way, the lightning palm that Li Fan had learned from the dragon lady was more or less enough. Seeing Li Fan's eyes light up but not making a sound, Yu Er felt apprehensive in his heart. Could it work or not? Why wasn't Li Fan making a sound? Was it painful or not? Give me a definite answer. Was this little tyrant really that stubborn? Was he really going to endure it? His guess was right. Li Fan had absorbed a lot of electricity and had really reached an upper limit. With Li Fan's current physique, it was not enough to absorb any more. Right now, he had cultivated to the standard of an 8-star cultivator and had yet to reach the 9-star level. There was a limit to what his body could endure. If he continued to absorb electricity, he would explode and die. However, he really gritted his teeth. He could not admit defeat. If he were to admit defeat, what would happen to his reputation as the little tyrant? Damn it, isn't it just 1,000 volts? I want to see how much I can withstand it. Li Fan began to adjust his dantian, allowing it to flow faster. The essence in his body slowly circulated, forming a small vortex that absorbed the surrounding electricity. The vortex seemed to have come to life. The stronger the electricity, the stronger the suction. When the power was slightly weaker, it would slow down. At the same time, Li Fan channeled the excess electricity through his feet into the alloy floor below. The floor was originally insulated, but Li Fan used his own essence energy to forcefully create a passageway and send the electricity away. This time, the electricity lasted for more than a minute. Li Fan was still sitting there. His face turned pale for a moment before turning red again. Yu Er was puzzled. Was something wrong? Would Li Fan eat electricity? Sir, if this goes on, the submarine's electricity will be overloaded, the assistant reminded him. The lights in the cabin flickered non-stop. The red warning light was already on. Even though the submarine was powered by nuclear energy, the electricity was also rated. Once it was overloaded, the submarine would definitely be in trouble. Yu Er switched off the switch. The lights in the cabin flickered a few times before returning to normal. The red light went off and the strange atmosphere disappeared. Yu Er looked at Li Fan and gritted his teeth. This kid was simply a piece of iron plate. He couldn't be kicked or hit. Li Fan, do you think I can't do anything to you? Yu Er cursed inwardly. He really had to think of a way to torture this Li Fan. He had no choice but to send Li Fan back to his cell. Back in his cell, Li Fan could finally relax. This was his first battle with Yu Er and Li Fan had won. But Yu Er wasn't going to let Li Fan off just like that. He would probably find other ways to torture him. It seemed like it was impossible to cultivate in this place. Since it's impossible, I'll just complete the mission. Li Fan stood up from the hard bed. This broken bed wasn't even comfortable to sleep on. He might as well sit on the electric chair. Li Fan walked to the door of the cell, glanced at the Imperial Guard standing outside the door, and asked him, "Friend, can I ask you something?" "Shut up." The Royal Guard scolded. "Who the fuck allowed you to speak? Do you know where this is?" The Royal Guard was overjoyed. This was the little tyrant, and now he was watching over him. No matter if he was a dragon or a tiger, he was like a grandson in front of him. "I just want to ask you something." "Fuck you." Just as the Royal Guard scolded again, Li Fan suddenly stretched out his hand. His palm directly pierced through the tempered glass as if it was a window made of paper. Before the Royal Guard could react, Li Fan's hand was already like an iron hoop, locking this person's neck. Li Fan only stretched out 3 fingers, and it was enough to lock this person's neck so tightly that he couldn't even breathe. "I'm here. I was wrong. Please spare me. I want to ask you something." Speak. This little one will tell you everything I know." This person was already terrified, and he was about to pee his pants. This was a specially tempered glass, and it was actually broken with a single palm. This little tyrant was too strong. Could it be that even the cultivation dispersing pill was useless? Do you know of a person called Professor Kai? As Li Fan spoke, the surrounding alarms were already ringing. This was a comprehensive prison. When Li Fan broke through the cell, he was already discovered. I really don't know. The royal guard's legs were trembling, and he was trembling. He was quite afraid that he would die here. There was no one who wasn't afraid of death. To say that someone wasn't afraid of death was because there was something wrong with his mind. Then you sleep for a while. Li Fan couldn't be bothered to take his life. He exerted strength in his palm and directly knocked this person out. Then he broke the glass and took off this person's clothes. After entering the prison, Li Fan's outer clothes were also taken off. Inside were all white short sleeves and shorts, to ensure that they didn't have any weapons on them. Li Fan also didn't want to go out and show off in this outfit. This royal guard's figure was similar to his, and it was just right for him to wear. The material of this black suit was not bad. According to General Ran, it seemed to be made of special nanomaterial. Even if he wore it, he wouldn't feel constrained. The ventilation was also not bad, and the warmth was also strong. Wearing it, it was warm in winter and cool in summer. It's not bad. In the urgent alarm, Li Fan touched the material of his suit. Later, I will ask old Ran for a few more. As he spoke, several guards had already rushed in front of him. Chapter 1199. On this floor, there were a total of 12 guards. The leader of these 12 people was an artillery rank cadre, the only one wearing a white suit. They did not expect that someone could actually escape from prison. All of them had taken the strength-dispersing pill, so their cultivation was at most at the acme of perfection. Furthermore, Li Fan had taken more than one pill. According to the higher-ups, Li Fan was special and had eaten 9 pills in a row. After eating these 9 pills, not to mention Li Fan, even a Daluo Golden Immortal would not be able to withstand it. Who would have thought that Li Fan cultivated elemental energy? With just a small trick, he was able to neutralize the 9 heartless strength-dispersing pills. At this moment, Li Fan had changed into a black suit and looked very handsome. His valiant aura caused the guards in front of him to be startled. What a martial arts hero! Did he really disperse his cultivation? His eyes were shining and his temples were bulging. One look and you could tell that he had the demeanor of a martial arts expert. Stop! The leader of the artillery rank cadre was also nervous. However, if he could subdue this little tyrant, his career would definitely soar. As the saying goes, people die for wealth and birds die for food. He pointed at Li Fan and cursed, "Don't you know what kind of place this is? How dare you escape from prison? If you know what's good for you, quickly surrender. Otherwise, I will take your life." Li Fan smiled. He tidied up his suit and crooked his finger at the white suit cadre. "Come, let's play. Go." The 11 black-suited guards obeyed the order and directly stepped forward, surrounding Li Fan in the center. The leader wanted to fight for credit and was holding a Mo Dao in his hand. This Mo Dao was 1.5 meters long and its handle was 40 centimeters long. In front of its head was a sharp blade like a spear. It was a long-handled weapon invented in the Tang Dynasty. In the Tang Dynasty, there was a world-famous Mo Dao team with extremely strong attack power. Li Fan's own escort trained the Shield Sword team, which was different from the Mo Dao team. The Mo Dao team pursued attack while the Shield Sword team researched both offense and defense. Not to mention the Shield Sword team, the Mo Dao team used the Mo Dao team as a spear. He used the Mo saber in his hand as a spear. He aimed it at Li Fan's lower abdomen and stabbed it. Stabbing the throat required skill. The throat was big and could be easily pierced. Stabbing the throat required skill. A person's throat was huge. Putting aside the fact that it was easy to miss, if the other party was agile, they could easily dodge it by tilting their head. However, he was stabbing the abdomen. The abdomen was very wide and had a high hit rate. Li Fan stretched out 2 fingers and flicked the blade of the sword. Clang! With a crisp sound, The Modeo was deflected and stabbed to the side. At the same time, Li Fan chopped the guard's neck with his palm like a knife. He showed mercy and did not kill him, only knocking him out. Li sword of Li Li Fan. He were of the guard of. The guard managed to escape with his life. Li Fan was in a good mood at the moment. More guards stepped forward and stabbed Li Fan's heart with their mo swords. Li Fan placed one hand behind his back and extended 2 fingers from his other hand. He kept flicking the mo Dao team in front of him. At the same time, he struck the guard's forehead and knocked him out. After a few hits, 6 guards were lying on the ground and would not wake up for a while. The remaining 5 guards were frightened by Li Fan. They cowered in front of the cannon-level cadre and did not dare to make any movements. The cannon-level cadre was no longer as arrogant as before. As the saying goes, when an expert makes a move, it will be obvious. Li Fan knocked down a few guards with a few moves. The demeanor of an expert was fully displayed. The cannon-level cadre pondered in his heart. This was not a competition of the same level. They were not his match at all. "Come, let me ask you," Li Fan asked the cannon-level cadre. This brother slowly retreated as if he was afraid. "I told you to come forward and talk." Li Fan glared and reached out his hand. This cannon-level cadre was directly sucked into his hand from a distance of more than 10 meters. Li Fan lifted the artillery-level cadre's neck into the air and questioned him directly. "Let me ask you, do you know someone called Professor Kai?" "I don't know any Professor Kai or Professor Fan." The cannon-level cadre turned his head and said, "I don't have much patience." Li Fan extended 2 fingers and tapped on the cannon-level cadre's acupuncture points. A heart-wrenching pain flowed through the cannon-level cadre's meridians. Wherever it passed, it felt like needles were drilling into it. It was so painful that the cannon-level cadre screamed, "Spare me! Hero, spare me!" This brother did not resist and begged for mercy. The surrounding guards did not laugh at their leader. At this moment, there was no one who was not afraid of Li Fan. This guy is too scary. To be able to suck a person into his hand from a distance of more than 10 meters, what kind of skill is this? It seems like the cultivation dispersing pill is just like candy to him. Then why don't you say it? In the research room. Close the research room? No, not. This cannon-level cadre shook his head. Before he could finish his words, a red light suddenly flew from the side. Following that, a red dagger the length of a finger pierced his temple and took his life. Li Fan was somewhat surprised. He was too focused on his question that he did not notice the hidden weapon. However, from this, it can be seen that the person who threw the hidden weapon is also a hidden weapon expert. At least, he is much more skilled than In Tian. Li Fan threw the corpse to the side and looked at the dozens of guards that appeared in front of him. There were not many guards on this floor, only 12. The cannon-level cadre who just died was the person in charge of this floor. But now that something happened, all the guards came and surrounded Li Fan tightly. And the leader is a minister-level cadre. He is wearing a white suit with a black tie. Other than his clothes, this person is a typical Jianghu person. He is a man with long hair tied into a ponytail that hangs behind him. Looking at his appearance, he has cold eyebrows and starry eyes. He is handsome, but it is a pity that he is a lackey. This minister-level cadre also has a Chinese divine weapon, which is that red dagger. This guy stretches out his hand and the red dagger is pulled out from the corpse. After shaking off the blood, it flew back to his hand. This hidden weapon skill is not bad. Li Fan praised. The other party did not reply. He flicked his hand again and the red dagger instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. Li Fan did not hesitate. He stretched out 2 fingers and gathered his yuan qi at his fingertips. He flicked the dagger. Dang! With a crisp sound, the dagger bounced off. This dagger flew far away and was caught by the minister-level cadre. "Sorry, can you make way? I have something to do," Li Fan said politely, but this minister-level cadre did not want to agree. He flicked his hand and the hidden weapon flew over again. This time, it went straight for the throat, taking his soul. Chapter 1200. The Prime Minister cadre was very confident in his hidden weapon skills. There were 3 sparrows flying in the sky. If he was given a stone, he could shoot down 3 of them. It was such a beautiful hidden weapon skill. Now, he had used the dragon chip to increase his strength and even gave it to a powerful Chinese weapon. This made the Prime Minister cadre even more confident. In this world, there were not many people who could catch his hidden weapon. He swung his hand and used the best technique in his life to shoot the fastest hidden weapon, aiming straight for Li Fan's throat. This brother had never failed in using hidden weapons before. This time, he was also full of confidence. He was prepared to take Li Fan's life. Li Fan stood there leisurely, stretched out his hand, and caught this hidden weapon in his hand. This thing is not bad. Li Fan played with the dark red dagger in his hand. Is this also a Chinese weapon? Li Fan played with it for a while and asked, "Give me back my weapon." The Prime Minister cadre was shocked. How could his hidden weapon be taken away? What kind of ability was this? He picked up the knife of a comrade beside him and pounced forward. The knife stabbed towards Li Fan's heart. Li Fan leaned to the side and dodged the knife. But the Prime Minister cadre was also an expert. The knife slashed horizontally. However, Li Fan had already expected such an attack. He was even faster. He slapped his hand down and slapped the MO's saber to the ground. At the same time, he sent a flying kick at the Premier cadre's chest. The other party took 2 steps back. He couldn't stabilize his body at all. After a few steps, he sat on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. He couldn't beat him. The Prime Minister cadre's face was pale. "I have a question." Li Fan reached out and pulled a royal guard over. He politely asked, "How do I get to the laboratory?" That person didn't dare to do anything wrong. He trembled and pointed to the passage beside him. "Thank you." Li Fan placed him on the ground and adjusted his collar. "Everyone, see you later." Li Fan turned around and walked outside, running all the way. After he entered the elevator, he realized that there was no need to ask anyone else. Every floor of the elevator was marked with information such as laboratories, command cabins, medical cabins, and so on. The laboratory was 3 floors below. Just as Li Fan was about to press the button for the elevator, the lights in the elevator immediately turned black, followed by a red light. Yu Er's voice rang out, carrying a hint of anger. "Li Fan, this is my territory. Do you think you can run away?" "Yeah, it's not fun here. I'm going back." "Ha, what a fool's dream. Just stay in the elevator until you die." The elevator was motionless, out of control. Li Fan was not in a hurry. He directly stomped his feet, and with a bang, the elevator instantly slid down. Because the elevator had an emergency brake, after Li Fan kicked the elevator down 4 or 5 floors, the emergency brake was activated and pulled the elevator to a stop. Li Fan pushed open the elevator's safety door and jumped out, landing on it. Then, he calculated the floor and jumped in front of the elevator, reaching out and pulling the elevator door open. It was indeed a laboratory outside. There were many complicated facilities, and many people in white coats hiding at the side. Many of the royal guards pointed their MO swords at the elevator door, charging at Li Fan who was about to come out. Oh, there are quite a lot of people. Looking at the group of MO swords in front of him, Li Fan smiled. "Everyone, you are no match for me. Stand down. Don't listen to his lies." Yu Er was hiding somewhere, using a megaphone to give orders. The royal guards did not dare to disobey. They braced themselves and charged forward, raising their MO swords and stabbing at Li Fan in unison. What kind of inner force did Li Fan have? He stood there and spat out a mouthful of essence chi. It was as if a gust of wind had blown through the laboratory, causing the royal guards who were wielding their MO swords to sway unsteadily. Li Fan took the opportunity to dodge a MO saber. He held it in his hand and directly pierced through the heart of an imperial guard. Like skewering meat, he lifted him on the saber and threw him to the side. This time, Li Fan did not hold back. He held the MO sword like a grim reaper's scythe, reaping the lives of 5 royal guards in the blink of an eye. The remaining royal guards finally knew fear. This young man in a black suit was not an opponent they could face. What should they do? That was impossible. The warden would not let them off. That was courting death. Who else wants to die? Li Fan said coldly while holding the mo dao that was dripping with blood, scaring the rest of the Imperial Guards into running away like rabbits. Yu Er couldn't stop him no matter how hard he tried. Yu Er, don't you have any good helpers? Li Fan stretched his muscles and bones, bored to death. There's no point in fighting like this. Li Fan, don't you dare be so arrogant. Yu Er cursed. I still have a secret weapon. Oh? Then hurry up and take it out, lest I get bored. I do have a weapon, but Li Fan, you'd better think this through. Yu Er warned Li Fan. You're a criminal now. If you break out of prison, you'll be defying the law. Whose law? Li Fan laughed. The law of your royal guards has nothing to do with me. I'm the sword of the state, above all the laws. I'm only here to have fun. Now that I've lost interest in young master, I'd like to see who can stop me. Is that so? Then take a look and see who this is. A platform rose from the side, a person chained to it. This person had a dignified appearance and a burly build. He did not look like an ordinary person. He wore a black prison uniform and was chained up, but he did not seem dispirited at all. His eyes were still bright and full of life. You Er, you dog, you're finally willing to let me out? The speaker was none other than the head of the Murong family, Murong Bo. Murong Bo, cut the crap. I'm giving you a chance to atone for your crimes. Kill Li Fan and you'll be spared the death penalty. You Er yelled through the speaker. How noisy! Murong Bo looked at Li Fan in front of him. I didn't expect you to come out earlier than me. I didn't expect the once mighty Manor Lord Murong to become a prisoner today. See, this is the fate of a lackey. What in the world can lock me up? Murong Bo laughed heartily. I'm here to find a suitable place to kill you. As he spoke, Murong Bo shook his wrist and broke free of the chains, slowly walking down. Yu Er was dumbfounded, not making a sound. You have nowhere to run now that you're here. Besides, my daughters aren't here, so no one will be able to protect you. Murong Bo walked forward as he spoke. His feet left fingernail-deep footprints on the ground. Chapter 1201. This is not some marble floor but an alloy floor. To be able to be stepped on by Murong Bo and leave such a mark, it is absolutely shocking. Li Fan crosses his arms and stands in front of Murong Bo without any fear. Although Murong Bo is strong, he is an enemy that he must face in the process of growing up. If he can't defeat Murong Bo, it will be difficult for him to advance in the future. Li Fan, this is your grave. I feel that the feng shui here is quite suitable for you. Li Fan points around. Look, don't you like it? I'll pull out your annoying tongue first. As Murong Bo speaks, he looks at Li Fan and inhales through the air. His devil technique has already reached great success and his ability to absorb people is also extremely strong. After absorbing Li Fan's Star Luo divine technique, it has become even more magical. He stretches out his hand and Li Fan feels a force grabbing his body out of nowhere, pulling his body towards Murong Bo's direction. But Li Fan takes a horse stance. His feet are rooted firmly on the ground. But the royal guards beside him can't do it. One by one, they are pulled over by this attraction force and sucked in front of Murong Bo. These royal guards that are close to Murong Bo immediately begin to age. Their vitality is forcibly extracted and entered into Murong Bo's body. There seems to be some green light in the air, separated from the royal guards and then is sucked in by Murong Bo's nose. In this breath, Murong Bo seems to become stronger. Li Fan, although your 7-hero fist is not bad. But this 9 Buddha Sutra is the truly powerful one. Murong Bo says with a smile, I'm afraid you still don't know the real magical effect of the 9 Buddha Sutra. I raised thousands of devil cubs, absorbing their power day and night, and only then did I comprehend a little bit of the 9 Buddha Sutra. But I didn't expect that you could comprehend a complete set of mental cultivation methods with just a few remnant pages. The 9 Buddha scripture is indeed good. If I want to learn it, Imperial Consort Zhou can teach me at any time. But what's the use of learning this kind of predecessor's martial arts? Only by practicing it yourself can it be considered real martial arts. So young but so ambitious. Murong's blog looked at Li Fan. You gave up on the 9 Buddha Sutra, but didn't you still learn the 9 Truths Essential Technique and cultivate primordial chi? The 9 Truths Essential Technique is a philosophy, not a martial art. Li Fan watched Murong throw the bodies of the royal guards aside and reminded him, since you're so arrogant today, I'll beat you up with the 7 gallant fists. With that, Li Fan stood there and hooked his finger at Murong. Old dog Murong. Bring it on. Fine, I'll also let you know what the true use of the 9 Buddha Sutra is. As Murong's blog spoke, his body suddenly emitted a large green radiance. The green radiance became more and more intense. Murong's blog was like a big light bulb, illuminating the entire laboratory. The green radiance suddenly retracted and converged into Murong's eyes. His eyes seemed to be burning with green flames. This is the true essence of the 9 Buddha Sutra. Murong's blog's body emitted a powerful aura, causing Li Fan to be secretly alarmed. Flame palm. Murong's blog raised his hand, and his palm suddenly turned emerald green like jade. His body moved so fast that one could not see it clearly. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Li Fan, and his palm struck towards Li Fan's forehead. Li Fan subconsciously raised his hand and used Ursa Major Seal to meet it. Bang! The two collided and separated. Li Fan slid back by 3 meters, and Murong's blog also took 2 steps back. A burning sensation made Li Fan's palm hurt. In the past, his flame palm was extremely fierce, and one palm could explode the opponent's body. But Murong's green flame palm was extremely soft, and it allowed the energy to enter his body and cause destruction, which was even more terrifying. But the most terrifying thing was that when he exchanged blows with Murong's palm, a lot of the essence in his body was sucked away. In the past, he could only absorb essence chi, but now he could even absorb essence chi? If this continued, it would be disadvantageous to him. Murong's blog did not give Li Fan any time to react. He once again moved forward and used his flame palms, aiming straight for Li Fan's vital points. Li Fan used his crane hand and slapped away Murong's palm. But just as he thought, every time he attacked, the opponent's burning and gravitational force would constantly weaken his strength. Ha! Li Fan suddenly used a fierce tiger roar, causing Murong's blog to take a step back. At the same time, Li Fan also got a chance to catch his breath. He took 3 steps back, suppressed the burning pain, and readjusted his aura. Li Fan, do you know fear now? Murong's blog laughed. Do you really think that you can defeat me, Murong's blog, just because you have cultivated essence chi? I, Murong's blog, have roamed the pugilistic world for decades, sweeping across the pugilistic world. You can cultivate essence chi, I can also cultivate in arts. Sure enough, Li Fan frowned. Murong's words confirmed his guess. The essence chi in his body had also undergone a qualitative change, from essence chi to the so-called in arts. That old dog Murong was indeed abnormally strong. His essence chi was extremely young and firm, while the other party's in arts were soft and sinister. One was positive and the other was negative. Alright, now you can die knowing why you're dying. Murong's blog said as he directly entered the 2nd stage of martial god, allowing the golden god of war armor to be draped over his body. This laboratory space was small, not suitable to release the martial god true body. But the 2nd stage of martial god true body was clearly more convenient to operate. And the armor on Murong's body slowly turned dark green, confirming the attribute of his power. Li Fan did not dare to be negligent. He quickly put on the flying lion armor and entered the strongest state. Flame palm. Murong's blog instantly arrived in front of Li Fan, and his palm went straight for Li Fan's chest. Li Fan leaned to the side, avoiding Murong's palm technique. At the same time, he grabbed a ball of white chi bead, and with a dragon-spitting pearl, he hit Murong's shoulder. Murong did not dodge, and took Li Fan's dragon-spitting pearl head-on. But the power of the dragon-spitting pearl was like a clay ox entering the sea, most of it was absorbed by Murong's body. The remaining small part, which could not be of much use, was shattered by Murong's protective aura. He turned around, and his palm grabbed Li Fan's neck, locking his body, and at the same time began to desperately absorb Li Fan's essence chi. Li Fan was shocked in his heart, but his reaction was very fast. He pushed his hands forward, and his fingers pierced towards Murong Bo's eyes. Although Murong's blog could absorb power, his eyes were not made of iron. If he was stabbed by Li Fan, he would become blind. He did not dare to be negligent, and immediately pushed his palm, sending Li Fan flying. Li Fan somersaulted in the air and landed on the ground again. The current Murong's blog was like a human-shaped black hole, too troublesome. Chapter 1202. Li Fan, don't resist. You're no match for me. Murong Bo calmly looked at Li Fan, who he had thrown out. Although I don't like you, it doesn't affect my admiration for you. As a young man from an ordinary family, it's indeed praiseworthy that you can grow to this stage. Murong Bo raised his yin art. The green light on his body seemed to be burning. You created the 7 Heroes Fist and can even rival me. This makes me see the shadow of myself in the past. If you were my subordinate, I would be very willing to nurture you. After all, I don't have a son. As for Jiang Feng, he's also a disloyal person and can't be of much use. But unfortunately, you got close to my daughter. To me, both of my daughters are treasures. With your background, you don't deserve to be their partner. After saying so many high-sounding words, it still means the same thing. Li Fan laughed. You're a perverted daughter complex, hugging your own daughters and refusing to let go. It's also their misfortune that Murong Ing and Murong love a father like you. Bullshit. Do you know how much I love them? Do you know what a father's love is like? You shameless, despicable, pretty boy. With that, Murong Bo roared. Just as he was about to make a move, Li Fan was faster and slapped him across the air. Dragon King Seal. Bang! Murong Bo subconsciously used his hands to protect his body and stood in place. A huge palm print appeared on the alloy wall behind him. Those who didn't know would really think that it was a slap from a dragon god. Although his body absorbed some of the vital energy from the palm, Murong Bo still suffered a certain impact. His armor also made a squeezing sound. He raised his head again and looked at Li Fan, who was standing opposite him. I also advise you not to underestimate my 7 Heroes Fist. Perverted daughter complex. Ridiculous. Murong Bo once again activated his yin skill. With a flick of his feet, he instantly appeared in front of Li Fan and directly slapped Li Fan's cheek with a flame palm. Li Fan was not careless either. He had already raised his essence chi to the extreme. Li Fan tilted his head slightly and dodged Murong's palm strike. At the same time, he struck Murong Bo's acupuncture point with the white crane nod. The smallest contact surface could reduce the absorption of vitality. Moreover, the white crane's nod was not light at all. After taking a hit from Li Fan, Murong seemed to be unscathed. She launched another flame palm at Li Fan. Li Fan wasn't able to dodge it completely. In the process of retreating, he also took a few blows from Murong. But his white crane nod also hit Murong many times. Bam! Murong Bo suddenly slapped Li Fan's chest. Li Fan took 2 steps back and half knelt on the ground. The burning sensation went straight to his heart, causing Li Fan's body to tremble in pain. Ha! Li Fan, your time of death has come. Murong Bo was very excited. He quickly stepped forward, raised his yin skill to the peak, and slapped Li Fan's forehead. But at this moment, his body suddenly stiffened and he knelt in front of Li Fan. Murong Bo felt that he temporarily lost control of his body. I have hit 18 of your acupuncture points. Li Fan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Murong Bo, revealing a smile. You are too confident, Murong Bo. The one who is going to die is not me. With that, Li Fan stood up, stretched out his right hand and slowly opened it. That's a crane. Li Fan's crane directly pierced Murong Bo's left eye. A wet and sticky eyeball was pulled out by Li Fan. Ow! Murong Bo screamed in pain. His acupuncture point was originally locked, but at this time, it was forcibly torn open. Boom! A strong skill erupted from Murongbo's body, impacting Li Fan's body, sending him flying out and landing in the distance. Li Fan felt a little regretful. He originally wanted to blind Murongbo, but he only had time to blind one, and the other was dodged. Who would have thought that Murongbo would forcibly remove his restriction? Li Fan guessed that after losing an eye, Murongbo should be a little unhappy now, right? Li Fan, I want your life. Murongbo seemed to have gone berserk. He was already so old, but he was tricked by Li Fan. In addition to the pain of losing an eye, he was abnormally furious. The old man took a few steps forward, and the power of his flaming palm increased. At the same time, it had a suction force, making it difficult to dodge. Li Fan originally wanted to dodge, but the suction force forcefully pulled his head, making it impossible for him to dodge. The berserk Murongbo seemed to be a little more troublesome, but he could make use of his impulsive nature at this time. Li Fan stretched out his hands, blocking in front of him, and caught Murongbo's palm. He slid backwards, and at the same time, some of his essence chi was sucked away, and his arms felt an intense burning sensation. This battle had probably greatly weakened him, just as Yu Er had hoped. Li Fan retreated as he fought, and soon he arrived at the laboratory's window. Outside the window was an endless ocean. From time to time, fish and prawns would swim by, revealing the dark and mysterious underwater world. Murongbo raised his palm again and slapped at Li Fan. However, Li Fan was faster. He smashed the window with his palm, and the water pressure immediately shattered the entire window, causing the seawater to surge in. The submarine sounded the alarm, and the iron plates on the windows began to open, automatically sealing the place. This was the submarine's automatic trigger. Li Fan had made a bold gamble. He grabbed Murongbo with his other hand and activated Father Bear Piledriver. His arm became thicker, and like firing a cannon, he threw Murongbo's body through the waves and into the deep sea the moment the door closed. Chapter 1203. Li Fan had a bad feeling, but Professor Kai had already pressed a switch. The cabin door suddenly opened, and white smoke was slowly released from the cabin door, rolling into the cabin. This white fog seemed to be very cold. Even the water stains on the cabin floor were frozen. This is seawater. How could it freeze? Li Fan was a little surprised. This white fog was strange. Li Fan felt waves of cold from this white fog. Even he could not help but increase the vitality in his body to protect his body, to prevent himself from freezing. Looking at the researchers, they were all shivering, their faces were pale, and their lips were blue. Within the white fog, a person's figure slowly appeared. Li Fan took a look. This guy was not someone else. He had straight eyebrows, was handsome, and had a dignified appearance. This was not someone else. It was him. A clone. Li Fan already knew his identity. This guy was wearing a black and white close-fitting special combat suit. There was a metal edge in between his eyebrows. It seemed to be some kind of chip. He closed his eyes, stood there, and let the white fog flow on his body. This is your clone. Although Professor Kai was freezing, he was very excited to introduce to Li Fan. His body is made up of your genes, and some of the genes of other martial arts experts, and even mutants. You should have seen one before, the one who can control flames. He is named Number 1. But I have given them a new name. He is called Heaven's Chosen Number 2. So, you are willing to be a dog for the Imperial Army? Nonsense. Professor Kai sneered, his eyes flashing with fanaticism. We are all working for the government. Isn't it the same everywhere? Moreover, here, I can research my human cloning technology and scrupulously. Human cloning technology. This technology is currently classified as a banned technology in the world. Those who have watched Schwarzenegger's The Sixth Day should know how terrifying it would be once human cloning is truly developed. And although some countries have research, they are just trying to deceive people, hiding it. This technology in China was just developed, but it was sealed. As for this submarine, it belonged to a place outside the jurisdiction of the government. Professor Kai was almost fanatical about the research of cloning. That was why when he was lured here by the royal guards, he was extremely excited, thinking that he had found a home. Li Fan could see the fanaticism in his eyes. He knew that Dr. Kai would not go back with him. But a mission was a mission. No matter what, Li Fan would take him away from here and escort him back to General Ran. When he arrived, General Ran would naturally put him on trial. Or rather, they wanted him to atone for his crimes and continue to contribute to protecting Huaxia. However, this was General Ran's problem. Let that guy worry about it himself. Heaven's Chosen One, activate. Professor Kai seemed very excited to see the activation of Heaven's Chosen One. This was a good opportunity to test number 2's data. He had to record it properly. After receiving the order, Li Fan's clone finally moved. He slowly opened his eyes. Unlike Li Fan, his pupils were glowing red. Heaven's Chosen One leaped and instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. At the same time, he slammed his palm down on Li Fan's forehead. This person's palm carried a strong cold air. Before it reached him, Li Fan's body was already cold and he was shivering. Damn, this thing is so fierce. In terms of strength, it seems to be much stronger than Li Fan -1. Li Fan instinctively rolled sideways and landed to the side. Frost erupted from Heaven's Chosen One's palm. The place where Li Fan stood just now exploded into a cold crystal. It froze there, emitting a strong chill. Fuck, Li Fan wanted to curse. This thing is a little too fierce. That was not the end. Heaven's Chosen One landed on the ground and opened his palm at Li Fan, who was standing in the distance. Frost condensed in his palm. Soon, a row of ice needles the size of a fountain pen condensed and shot at Li Fan. Dang dang dang. Li Fan waved his crane hand and continuously slapped away the ice needles in front of him. The ice needles were extremely fast. 9 shots at a time, one after another, like a machine gun. Li Fan actually could not handle it. Heaven's Chosen One was a combination of a mutant gene and a martial fighter gene. It was already very difficult to deal with. Furthermore, Li Fan had just fought a big battle with Murong. His stamina was now weak. Dragging it out was not a solution. He had to end the battle quickly. Li Fan quickly mobilized the Yuan Qi in his body and struck a Lion King punch at Heaven's Chosen One. Bam, bam, bam. The Lion King punch broke through the ice needles. Li Fan took the opportunity to quickly teleport in front of Heaven's Chosen One. At the same time, he raised his palm and with a knife hand posture, he slammed it directly on Heaven's Chosen One's forehead. Heavenly Punishment. Lightning Palm was one of the dragon combat techniques he learned from Dragon Lady. Li Fan modified it and named it Heavenly Punishment. Dragon combat techniques were divided into 4 elements: wind, fire, thunder, and water. Li Fan learned the Thunder Dragon race's combat technique from Dragon Lady. This lightning palm could be said to be the most basic palm technique. However, Li Fan only had a mortal body. He did not have the power of thunder in his body. However, he could absorb electricity and use it in place of the power of thunder. Moreover, Li Fan combined this lightning palm with God slaying. He used his knife hand to replace the sword and turned his palm into lightning. It was even more powerful. Therefore, he named this move Heavenly Punishment. Crackle! The electric light exploded on top of Heaven's Chosen One's head. Heaven's Chosen One instantly knelt down. His body was covered in electric sparks and he could not move for a long time. Heavenly Punishment. Second strike. Li Fan waved his knife hand again and split Heaven's Chosen One's body into 2. The upper half of Heaven's Chosen One's body flew out and the lower half of his body knelt there. Li Fan heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this clone did not have much intelligence. It would definitely not end well for him to take his heavenly punishment head-on. Heaven's Chosen One is not so easily defeated. Professor Kai's expression was a little distorted. Li Fan was just about to laugh at him, but he stopped. Suddenly, many black tentacles flew out from the cut of the Heaven's Chosen One's corpse that was cut in half. They grabbed the researchers and the Imperial Guards and sucked away their flesh and blood. Those people did not even have the time to scream before they turned into a pile of bones. Li Fan was stunned. This thing was even scarier than a monster. Before Li Fan could figure it out, 2 tentacles had already shot towards him. These tentacles were as thick as 2 fingers, but they were extremely dangerous. Get lost! Li Fan swung his knife hand and the tentacles were cut off in the electric light. There was a heavy knocking sound outside the submarine, as if someone was knocking on the door. That Murongbo was probably coming in soon. Chapter 1204. Murong was slamming into the outer wall of the submarine while the Chosen One was devouring the lives of the people in the laboratory. Li Fan didn't have time to hesitate. He immediately jumped to Dr. Kai's side and grabbed him in his hand. "What are you doing? Let go of me!" Professor Kai screamed. Li Fan slapped him unconscious and carried him on his shoulder. According to General Rand's information, there should be an emergency escape route in the Sky Prison. Li Fan had seen it in the elevator previously. It was 1 floor below. Without any hesitation, he carried Professor Kai and ran to the elevator. Li Fan was as fast as the wind. He used his qinggong to the extreme. His feet almost left the ground. He stepped in the air and arrived at the elevator in a few steps. At this time, the Chosen One had finished replenishing his nutrients and reconnected his body. He was slowly getting up. There was also a huge bump on the wall of the submarine. It was obviously caused by Murong. To be able to unleash such power in the deep sea, Murong was indeed powerful. Li Fan didn't have time to think. He carried the unconscious Professor Kai and jumped into the elevator shaft. Then he kicked open the door to the next floor. Rows of hatches were placed in front of Li Fan. He could hear Yu-Er's roar as if he was giving orders. The submarine was in a mess. Yu-Er must be very distressed. Li Fan couldn't be bothered with him. He opened a sealed hatch and threw Professor Kai in. There was a small space of 1 square meter inside the hatch. There was a round window the size of a palm outside that allowed one to see the bottom of the sea. As Li Fan and the rest entered the cabin, the hatch closed immediately. The cabin shook slowly and a woman's countdown echoed in the cabin. Countdown to the launch of the escape pod. 10, 9, 8. Li Fan tried his best to calm himself down. They had already escaped this far. There should be no problem. At this time, there was a loud bang outside the window. Murong's huge face was right in front of Li Fan, glaring at him with his only eye. This old fart actually chased him all the way here? How did he keep up with her? However, the countdown in the cabin had already reached the end. The entire cabin suddenly trembled, and with a thud, it was ejected from the submarine. Li Fan grabbed the railing with both hands to prevent himself from falling. As for Murong, she had been left behind. She didn't know if she could keep up. However, this escape pod was equipped with an underwater booster. After it was launched, it shot towards the surface of the water like a missile. At this speed, humans could not catch up with it underwater. In the time it took to breathe, bright sunlight shone through the window. Li Fan looked out. The escape pod had already left the bottom of the water and rose to the surface of the water. It floated alone on the surface of the sea, gently swaying with the waves. No matter what, he had escaped for the time being. He pushed open the hatch at the top of the escape capsule, jumped out of the heavy cabin, and stood on the top of the escape capsule. In front of him was a vast ocean. Li Fan had no idea where he was. However, it didn't matter. General Rand had implanted a chip under the skin of his forearm. This was not a dragon chip, but it was used for emergency positioning. In the past, Li Fan didn't want to get it, but this time it really came in handy. As soon as he appeared, the signal jamming device of the submarine lost its effect. General Rand should be able to quickly locate him and send someone to pick him up. However, there was still a group of terrifying guys underwater. Li Fan had to stay away for the time being. After the escape pod reached the surface of the water, it was useless. It was basically a moving coffin. Li Fan's feet stepped on the top of the escape pod. His feet seemed to have taken root, and he used his vital energy to suck the escape pod tightly. At the same time, Li Fan pushed out his palm and pushed the escape pod far away with his primordial chi on the water surface. Li Fan didn't know where to go. Anyway, he just needed to stay away from the submarine. An hour later, Li Fan was already very far away. It was estimated that the group of people would not be able to catch up. Only then did he feel a little relieved. He let the escape pod float quietly on the surface of the water, and he sat cross-legged on the top of the pod. He felt the sea breeze blowing while he meditated. He didn't have the spirit recovering pill to replenish his vital energy, so he could only rely on himself to recover by meditating. Fortunately, Li Fan had a pure yang body and practiced the 9 truths technique. His vital energy recovery speed was much faster than ordinary people. After meditating for a long time, the sky gradually turned dark. Dr. Kai slept very deeply. The blow from Li Fan would make an ordinary person sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. When he was almost done adjusting his vital energy, Li Fan opened his eyes. The sun had already sunk halfway into the sea, and half of the sea was dyed red. It was as if a dye vat had been overturned. Li Fan looked into the distance. This was the first time he had seen such a scenery. It would be great if he could watch it with the girls in the dojo. When he went to Li Family Island, he would probably see such a scenery often. When that time came, he would prepare a villa overlooking the sea on Li Family Island and live with his beloved. Wouldn't that be great? Li Fan stretched his back. The haze that had been hanging over him for the past few days seemed to have dissipated in this beautiful scenery. Rumble! The sound of a helicopter came from above. Li Fan looked up and saw a military transport plane flying towards them. However, the sea was vast, so it was difficult to find the exact location of the escape pod. Li Fan was confident about this. He stepped on the escape pod and the vital energy in his body flowed through the escape pod into the seawater below. The surrounding seawater was affected and slowly swirled. The seawater gradually turned into a small whirlpool, which immediately attracted the attention of the people on the helicopter. The helicopter also descended and released a rope before throwing it to Li Fan. Li Fan didn't need the rope at all. The helicopter's current altitude was just right. He grabbed the limp Dr. Kai and jumped onto the helicopter that was more than 10 meters high. The soldiers above were shocked, but when they remembered that this was the guardian of Hua Xia, the imperial sword, they quickly calmed down. This soldier had the title of captain. He saluted Li Fan. "Major Li, welcome back to the team. Is there anything to eat? I'm hungry." On the submarine, Li Fan only ate steamed buns and cabbage every day. His mouth was so bland that birds were about to fly out. There's a can of instant meat. Is that okay?" "No problem." Li Fan licked his lips. He felt like he was possessed by a dragon girl. Even if he was given an entire cow, he would be able to eat it. Li Fan sat on a chair beside him and took the can from the captain. There was a pull ring on it. As long as he pulled it off, there would be a chemical reaction that would quickly heat up the can. This was the regular food of the army. Although it didn't taste particularly good, Li Fan really needed to replenish his protein. Just as he opened the can, a roar came from below. Chapter 1205. Li Fan lowered his head to take a look. Oh my god, that old fellow Murong Bo had actually caught up to him again. The head of Murong Villa walked on the waves and caught up to the location of the escape pod in a few steps. Li Fan was a little angry. He thought to himself, I didn't lower myself to your level, but you're still incessant. Major Li, what should we do? The captain asked for Li Fan's opinion. Give me a compass, then you can go back first. Since Dr. Kai had already handed it over, the rest of the matter, Li Fan could completely rely on himself to act. Yes. The duty of a soldier was to obey orders. Since the Shang Fang sword had given such an order, then they would carry it out. The captain took out a waterproof compass and handed it to Li Fan. Then he ordered the helicopter to start pulling up. Where are you going? Murong Bo bellowed and kicked the escape pod with his foot. The escape pod immediately turned into a cannonball, soaring into the sky and smashing towards the helicopter high in the sky. However, Li Fan jumped down from the helicopter. He hugged the escape pod in the air and spun around, neutralizing the upward force, and then threw it back. Murongbo stepped on the waves and raised his leg to kick the falling escape pod. The escape pod was kicked to the side and floated on the sea. Li Fan just happened to land and stepped on the escape pod, looking at Murongbo on the sea. Walking on the waves was the same principle as walking on the void. Martial fighters relied on strong internal energy to walk on the water surface and walk on the waves. However, the speed of internal energy consumption was too exaggerated. Before long, one's internal energy would be depleted. However, Murongbo was clearly an exception. As he walked on the waves, he absorbed the life force of the fish in the sea and continuously replenished his internal energy. This 9 Buddha Sutra, this guy really didn't practice for nothing. However, Murongbo no longer had the prestige of the past. At this moment, his hair was disheveled and he was blind in one eye. Li Fan, I want your life. Murongbo's remaining eye had a scarlet glow in it. It was obvious that she was extremely angry. He leaped up and landed in front of Li Fan. 2 experts stood in a small escape pod. The 2 of them unleashed all their skills and engaged in a life and death struggle above the escape pod. Before the battle between Murongbo and Li Fan could be decided, the seawaters suddenly parted and another figure jumped out. The 2 of them turned around and saw that it wasn't a stranger either. It was Chosen One number 2. This man, who looked exactly like Li Fan, was wearing a special combat suit. He spun in the air, lifted his leg and slammed it down. White frost swirled around his feet, quickly forming a 4 to 5 meter long frost axe. Anyone who saw it would feel a chill run down their spine. Murongbo and Li Fan did not dare to be negligent. The 2 of them exchanged a palm strike and then leaped back. Bang! Number 2's foot came down, directly splitting the alloy escape capsule into 2. Li Fan and Murongbo both landed on the surface of the sea and stood on the waves at the same time. The entire escape pod was made of alloy. After it was split open, it slowly sank into the sea. Li Fan calculated the time he could stand on the waves. He could probably last about an hour. Moreover, he was definitely not a match for the 2 of them at this rate. This was not a suitable place to fight. Li Fan did not hesitate. He turned around, stepped on the waves, and quickly escaped. Where are you going? Murongbo did not even think about it and directly followed behind. The Chosen One also followed. Li Fan and Murongbo were both prisoners who had escaped from prison. His mission was to capture the 2 of them. However, in terms of Qinggong, Li Fan believed that he would not lose to anyone. He had learned the dragon combat technique from the Dragon Lady. One of the techniques was called cloud travel. He stepped on the clouds and flew in the air. To the dragon race, this was as easy as walking. However, after the dragon race transformed into a human, they needed some techniques to use the same technique. The way this technique was executed was similar to the void step. It was to step out with inner force and step into the air. At the same time, with some swaying of the waist and legs, it allowed one to swim in the air like a divine dragon. The so-called cloud travel was to move quickly in the air, just like swimming in the water. Li Fan's speed was extremely fast. Every time he moved his legs, he could jump 30 to 40 meters in the air like a swimming dragon. Although Murongbo and the Chosen One's Qinggong were also very good, none of them could catch up to Li Fan. Li Fan used cloud travel in the air and tapped on the surface of the sea from time to maintain support. After all, he was not a true dragon and could not fly in the air. This cloud travel had to fall once every 100 meters in the air. He needed to regenerate. After running for more than 20 minutes, Li Fan finally saw a small reef island. This reef island was not big. It was only 100 meters long and was constantly being washed by the seawater. It was smooth and slippery when stepped on. However, this was enough for Li Fan. He planted his feet on the island, his soles sinking into the reefs to stabilize himself. Li Fan stood there and quickly adjusted his breathing. Although his speed was not as fast as Murongbo's, it was still far faster than ordinary people. Not long after, those 2 perverts would catch up. It was better to adjust for as long as he could. Not long after, Li Fan heard a whistling sound. He opened his eyes and saw two black figures approaching quickly from afar. As expected, they came. Li Fan laughed coldly. I was waiting for them. These two were very difficult to deal with. Even if they were a distance away, they could still find his aura and catch up. If he did not defeat these two today, they would probably keep finding trouble with him. Moreover, when they were fighting just now, Li Fan realized that Murong Bo's eyes had recovered a lot. It was obviously the effect of the 9 Buddha Sutra. Just like Imperial Concubine Zhou, this old fellow could slowly reach an immortal state by relying on the vitality of others. This trip to the prison was too painful. He had provoked two perverts. When Li Fan was meditating just now, he was thinking about how to deal with them. The waves continued to wash against the island, and the splashes of water sank together with the setting sun. It was already late. A bright moon was slowly rising from the other side of the sea in place of the sun. Tonight's moon was round and bright. It was like a huge lamp hanging on the horizon, shining on Li Fan. As the black figure approached, Li Fan kept chanting Dragon Lady's name in his heart. He was an imperial sword and had an inexplicable tacit understanding with Dragon Lady. Although the distance was so far, it was the only way at the moment. Murong Bo and Heaven's Chosen One were getting closer and closer. The two of them flew over, one on the left and one on the right. Li Fan, where do you think you're going? Discovered Target 2, annihilate. The two of them quickly stepped on the sea and rushed in front of Li Fan. Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes, and a smile hung on the corner of his mouth. It's here. A golden light suddenly cut through the sky. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.